Good afternoon. Opening today's meeting of the Santa Rosa City School Board, Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024. At this time, I will take public comments on closed agenda items only. Speakers will have 2 minutes each. The items on the agenda on closed agenda items are as follow. Public employee appointment, employment regarding the superintendent. B2, public employee performance evaluation. B3, public employee discipline, dismissal, or release. B4, conference with labor negotiator, SRTA and CSEA. Conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, and student expulsion cases. Do we have any public comments?
Vice President Flores, there is no public comment.
Okay, thank you. We're going to recess to closed session. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending today's meeting of the Santa Rosa City School Board meeting. Opening this meeting Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024. We'll start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain standing after the Pledge of Allegiance for our land acknowledgement. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please stay standing. We have our director, Alegria de la Cruz, who is going to do our acknowledgement.
Many thanks. It's my honor tonight to present this land acknowledgement, and just want to start by saying that it's so critical not to just have a bunch of words to acknowledge that the land that we stand on is stolen, and we stand on it, and different jurisdictions claim it as a result of genocidal intentions that were committed and contemplated throughout the history of this country. And words can't heal that harm, but relationships can. And meaningful respect and engagement with the people who are the First Nations, who are the stewards of this land traditionally. And I'm really proud to be a leader in an organization and inside of an institution that is really bringing that to a reality in terms of the ways in which we build relationships, honor Native students, and honor these histories. So with that, I acknowledge that the Santa Rosa City Schools is on the traditional territory and the homelands of the Southern Pono people. Traditional territory and homelands of the Coast Miwok people, and honor with gratitude the land itself and the people who have stewarded it throughout the generations. This land acknowledgement calls us to commit to continuing to learn how to be better stewards of the land we inhabit. By offering this land acknowledgement, we affirm Indigenous sovereignty and will work to hold Santa Rosa City Schools more accountable to the needs of American Indian and Indigenous peoples. Aho.
You may be seated. Thank you. Thank you, Director de la Cruz. We will continue to honor the past, the present, and the future of this land and for our school community with respect and gratitude. Moving on to reports. Moving on to reports taken in closed session. I'll need a motion for case number OAH 2024-040736.
Move to approve the recommendation.
I'll second.
Moved by Trustee de la Cruz, second by Trustee Sheffield. Roll call vote.
Trustee De La Cruz.
Aye.
Trustee Sheffield.
Aye.
Trustee McNally. Aye. Trustee De La Torre.
Aye.
Trustee Manieri. Aye. Vice President Flores.
Aye. Thank you. C4, items considered in closed session. To be considered in open session, I need a motion for student expulsion case number 2023/24-19.
Motion to approve. Second.
Thank you. Motion made by Trustee De La Torre, second by Trustee Sheffield. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee De La Torre.
Aye.
Trustee Sheffield,
Aye.
Trustee De La Cruz,
Aye.
Trustee McNally,
Aye.
Trustee Manieri,
Aye.
Vice President Flores.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Statements of abstentions. Are there any statements of abstention for tonight? Thank you. Seeing none. Moving on. Adjustments to the agenda. C6. Are there any adjustments to the agendas from the board or the superintendent? Trustee Manieri?
Vice President Flores, I'd like to ask that we allow public comment on consent items from students only during public comment on non-agenda items this evening.
Is there any opposition to the request? Thank you. I see none, and I don't see why we shouldn't doing non-agenda items, students only. Thank you. Are there any items being pulled? Okay, seeing none. Special presentation. Special presentation. Okay, so our outgoing student board member, Audrey Rao, thank you. We just want, we have a small little, presentation by our, superintendent Renell here. And I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you for giving up a lot of days, away from your homework assignments and other things you could have been doing. And I know this is a lot of work, and it's sometimes a very lively, conversation. And I just couldn't be more proud to see our own students being involved in civic engagement. Thank you so much for being involved.
Thank you, Vice President. We are here this evening to recognize Student Board Member Rao for her service this school year. It's been a pleasure. We have a little token of appreciation to help you on your journey. Are you able to share with us any of your plans?
I have committed to University of Washington, and I'm majoring in business and English literature. I'm very excited.
We are certainly proud of you and wish you well. And thank you so much for all you've done in contributing to this board.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board member comments? Director De La Cruz?
Audrey, I just want to thank you for your dedication to this board, hanging in with us late nights, controversial conversations, and really elevating student voice. Super appreciate the way that you engaged your peers across the district and really created an outlet for student voice to make sure to have a presence and to truly be represented in this space. And so I'm really grateful for your efforts this year, and I wish you the best.
Director Sheffield?
Thank you. Audrey, I know we're going to be on opposing sides. I was a Cougar at WSU, and Apple Cup comes, and we're probably going to be button heads. But my wife, she's a Husky, so I know you're not all bad folks. I just want to thank you so much for giving us your Wednesday nights. This is what you chose to do, and you have definitely represented the student perspective and student voice very well. You've been actively engaged board member. I know you do your homework. You patiently sit through and you participate when it's time to deliberate. And your input has been really valuable for all of us. I just want to wish you very best on your future educational step and moving out of state. And Seattle winters are rough. So come home often, come back and visit us. We're going to miss you and just want to thank you so much.
Thank you. And your wife has it right. Go dogs.
Any other board members? Director Manieri?
I just want to say to you, Audrey, that you've been such a thoughtful leader on this board, definitely representing the student perspective and the very diverse and nuanced student perspective, I should add. It hasn't been an easy year, I think, to serve as a student board representative, and you've done it with a lot of grace, a lot of thoughtfulness, and a lot of intention, and that hasn't gone unnoticed. And I also just want to congratulate your family if they're here, because these kinds of accomplishments are not done in a bubble. And of course, you were at the forefront of everything that you did. But I also want to acknowledge your family, your parents who gave you to us for the hours that they did, and for trusting that we'd be able to keep you safe here while you were here many late nights with us. So thank you, and thank you to Audrey's family.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you for this opportunity. It's been so cool. I've learned so much, and it's experience that I will take with me for the rest of my life. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Yay. Moving on to reports, I believe, yep, D, reports. First, we have the California School Employee Association, CSCA, Santa Rosa 75 report. President Mary Lehman, is she available?
Yes,
She
I'm
is.
here. Hello.
There you are.
Good evening, Vice President Flores, Superintendent Chanel, cabinet members, students, teachers, staff, the community here, and everyone listening tonight. A special thank you from CSEA to Audrey, our outgoing student board member. Thank you for your time and contributions to the school board this year. You have a wonderful future ahead. There are so many thank yous to say to our classified members, our teachers, and administrators who will be leaving the end of the year. We are honored by your service and appreciate the time and energy you have shared with students and the school community. We wish all of you the best. We want to thank all of the schools that recognized our classified employees this week during Classified Employee Week, and some of the teachers that last week. They celebrated with them last week also. With only 10 or 11 days of school left, the students are CASP and AP testing and still have finals to study for. And the teachers have grades to turn in. We are all working hard to finish the year on a positive note and dive into summer school the following week. SRCS has eliminated some childcare positions and the childcare supervisor. What are the district's plans for the program? It is concerning that it appears that SRCS is winding down an in-house program in favor of spending $5 million with an outsourced provider. It has been shown that outsourcing is more expensive than leaving programs in-house. At this time with the budget deficit, are we spending more money with less control over the program's outcomes? We congratulate SRTA on signing their tentative agreement. Last week, our CSEA members ratified the 2 MOUs, one, the Student Safety Advisor job description, and 2, the layoff impacts and effects. We're looking forward to meeting with the district in June to begin our contract negotiations for 24 through 27. We represent over 600 classified employees working for Santa Rosa City Schools. We keep schools running so teachers can teach. Our mission is to improve the lives of our members, students, and the community. With courage and compassion, thank you.
Thank you, President Lehman. Next, we have the Santa Rosa Teachers Association, CTA NEA affiliate, President Catherine Howell.
Good evening, Vice President Flores, Superintendent Trinnell, members of the board, members of the community. I'm Catherine Howell, the president of Santa Rosa Teachers Association. I represent about 900 teachers in Santa Rosa City Schools. So I want to just throw some thank yous right back at Mary Lehman and CSEA for classified staff appreciation and how much all of the members of CSEA, the support staff at all of our sites mean to the teachers. We can't do our jobs without them, right? So we're very codependent, teachers and support staff. So 1,000 million thank yous to everyone who helps the teachers every single day in ways that we can't even begin to explain or describe. Also, yeah, SRTA came to an agreement with Santa Rosa City Schools on our tentative agreement for our new contract. Thank you, board, for the role you played in that. Definitely, we are looking at this as a good contract, a really good agreement for everyone. We started this negotiations with our t-shirts that said, our students deserve the best, and we know that you, as members of this board and members of the community and parents of students in our schools, 100% agreed with that, and we think we are absolutely there together and making sure that our students are getting what they deserve, right? And it starts with teachers that are able to live in this city and live in Sonoma County. So thank you for our increase in salary. Thank you for going along with our unusual request of having a flat rate added to our salary schedule. It did work out to be $4,750 for every member, which is actually almost an 8% increase for the people at the lowest end of our salary schedule, and about 4% for the people at the top. So we look at this as a way to attract and retain new teachers who we desperately need, and give them a salary that they could hopefully live on in Sonoma County and in Santa Rosa. So thank you so much for that. The healthcare increase was also, for many people, life-changing. It could be up to $6,000 a year of additional contribution from the district for families who are definitely struggling to use the Santa Rosa City Schools healthcare right now. About a $4,000 increase for employee plus one. So that's going to be a big help to a lot of our teachers out there who are trying to support their kids on a single income, which is almost impossible. And then the thing that was pretty exciting to a lot of our members, more than you might expect, the 100% family coverage for members that are legally married or partnered with another member. So we're going to set up a teacher dating service and make sure that everybody has the chance to get 100% family health care by having everybody employed by Santa Rosa City Schools. And their children can help populate our schools in the future. So anyway, the other thing that's huge, it's, I think, groundbreaking in CTA. When we signed the TA, one of the members of the Santa Rosa negotiating team said, we're going to be famous for our safety article. And I think SRTA might be famous. I hope that Santa Rosa City Schools isn't infamous. But it is a great article. I think that the community, as soon as they're able to see it, will realize how hard we worked together to create a safety article that really speaks to a lot of the issues we've been having in the past few years. It creates the ability for teachers to join the district safety committee and have actual representation at the district level of the choices that are being made to make sure that our students are being safe, to look at trends in situations at school, unsafe situations, and try to come up with solutions. The safety article also creates safety committees at the school sites who can do the same thing. Study the data, look at the trends, see where the supports are not helping or not supporting students the way they needed to be supported, and hopefully make changes that it will bring safety to the schools and bring safety to our students and bring safety to everyone that comes to our schools on a daily basis. So we really are very proud of that. We're proud of the work that we did together to make that safety article as robust as it is. And I want to make a huge thank you to Superintendent Trunnell, who I know pushed really hard to make that safety article strong, and every single member of this board who I know had to read through it and struggle with, what will this do and what will it impact? And so I appreciate how hard we worked on that, how much you listened, how far we came from the first introduction of that article to what we ended up TAing, which is really remarkable. And so I just wanted to say thank you, and I'll stop there. All right, thanks.
Thank you, President Howell. Next, we have our superintendent's report. Do we have a superintendent report? Oh, okay.
Thank you, Vice President Flores, members of the board, those who are with us in person and online. Tonight, well, let me start with my usual beginning remarks. Today marks day 170 for elementary schools and day 169 for our secondary schools. Only 10 or 11 more days of opportunity to positively support our students this school year. Let's finish this school year strong. Tonight, I will be presenting the superintendent's annual report as specified in my contract. It does have 50 slides, 51 to be exact, but I will move through them expeditiously without running over the information. I do want just to take a moment to thank members of the district office team. Something like this does not get built alone and definitely demonstrates a team effort of how we've been supporting our district this school year. So I'm going to go ahead and try and share my screen. And what do I have? That's it. Thank you. Perfect. So this report is going to focus on several areas. As I said, I will go through them expeditiously, but I do want to just recognize, while that this has been a remarkable school year, we have definitely seen gains and increases in positive ways that hopefully we'll be able to capture here. Does not do justice to the actual work that is boots on the ground that all of our individuals are doing every day to serve our students, families, and our staff. So starting with our MVPs, our mission and our vision, which we know that drives our work in this district and keeps us centered, as well as our strategic priorities, which our board is actually beginning the process of engaging in the potential review and potential revision of these 7 strategic priorities. They do drive the work that we bring forward to the board, and we also keep these 7 in mind as we are governing our work in the district, thinking about serving the needs of our students. So this is a concept that I worked on in Vision and then worked on with the team. This is an example of an organizational chart. In a traditional organizational chart of a school district, the superintendent is at the top, followed by district leadership, followed by schools, followed by students and parents. We actually lead. This is an example of how we actually lead, with students at the top, where we are lifting our students, and we are doing that in partnership with our parents all along the way in their journey as our students have their journey in school. There are several departments, and there's a whole list of individual groups under each of these departmental labels who do a lot of work, followed by all of our schools. We have our certificated and our classified employees, as well as our administrators who are doing that work on the ground, working directly with our students, working with our parents, followed by me, who takes direction from all of those board members that you see below. And the bottom line is the foundation that we are a community. We are a community first in how we serve our students, who are always the North Star of the work that we do. Also, just recognition of our student board member, Audrey, just memorializing her work with us this school year. Our schools have not changed. These are our schools. We want to be sure that we call out from our littles or our youngest learners in preschool all the way through high school, how we have a system. What you don't see here is that we have 8 feeder elementary districts who also converge with us in our middle schools starting at 7th grade. This is the current makeup of our staff as far as demographics and numbers. We typically say we have about 1,600 employees. Some of these could be duplicates, but that's how we typically support our staff in numbers. You can see by ethnicity, the percentage of our staff. We are a predominantly white staff, but we do have representation from a variety of cultures and ethnicities and races. So we are a beautiful, diverse district in that respect. And our students we have a student population that is almost 60% Latinx, and then followed by our white student population. We have a number of students who are a part of our African American, Asian, and 2 or more races. While it's not called out here, we do have a beautiful Native American population as well that is represented in our district. This is just the same breakdown, but by numbers instead of percentages. And our home languages of our students, you can see that 50% of our student population, the home language is English, followed by almost 45% Spanish. And then we have almost 55 additional languages spoken at home that makes up the beautiful culture that our students and our families bring to our district. This is another example, making sure we're calling out our French language, as we do have an academy. We also have a number of Vietnamese speaking families as well. Wanted to be sure that we also understood our English learner population. So this graph represents by years being here that we have English learners who are 0 to 3 years, English learners who are 4 to 5 years, and then English learners who are 6+ years, as well as our RFEP students. And this is for our elementary. And then also for our high school, you will see that we have a higher number of RFEP students in our high school, and that's because of the support and care over time that they've received to get to that point of being reclassified as fluent. I would like to transition to enrollment. It is no secret that not only in our district, but in our county, we are experiencing declining enrollment. So you can see over years where we are currently. These numbers on this chart represent these numbers do not include our charter schools that are in our district. And this is the trend in our charter schools. So we are accepting more students into our charter schools over years that are this number represents our 4 dependent charters in our district. This is just another way of putting all of that together: charter, our secondary, and elementary. We did some presenting earlier this year on our graduation rates, our A through G rates, and seal of biliteracy. So this is a breakdown of those numbers where you can see that over years we've had an up and down dip of graduation rates. Last year being at 84.2, 2 years ago, 84.2. Last year, a slight dip at 82.6. And we've actually seen an increase in the number of students taking and passing A through G courses. And then our seal of biliteracy is slowly beginning to grow, and that's such a beautiful thing for our students who speak another language. We do have some growth that we need to experience in this district. We are not proud of the low proficiency levels that we are seeing in our academics as measured by our California exams. But we did, and we will take it. We saw a slight increase in our proficiency of 7.4 points in English language arts, followed by 5.5 points in mathematics. We had a slight decline with our English learner progress, and we actually are growing on our college, sorry, I can see boxes here, on our college and career readiness. In 2019, we were at 17.8%, and on this particular measure via the state, we're at 27.3%. We definitely have more work to do, and I'll talk about some of the things that we're doing to continue to move that needle in a positive direction. We feel that collaboration with our staff, with our parents, with our community is extremely important. And these are examples of standing committees or groups who meet year to year. And we're so excited to, in addition to all of these, to have increased with all of these additional committees just this school year, as you can see here. These committees represent parents, community members, teachers, district office staff, all for the goal of how we're going to support the needs of our students. And the data that you saw previously are focal points that we have in mind as we do our work. On tap for next year are, in addition to all of those committees, some additional work, because it's really important, and we know that we don't do this work alone. So we're excited about the idea of having a youth council finally, right? And being able to get to that, to finally be able to get to a co-teaching committee and talk about practice around that, focus on student athletes, have a curriculum council that really does a true vetting and quality control of the decisions that we're making with courses and curriculum in our district. So a lot of really great work ahead. Also want to be sure that we memorialize that we did complete the discussions around a unification and a feasibility study during this school year. So these dates represent those coming into this school year in January and February, as well as discussions which will actually continue tonight around the work around a potential parcel tax and the various ways that we've maneuvered trying to provide information for the community and bring that conversation back to the board. With our Safety Advisory Roundtable strategic plan back in February, I showed some progress monitoring data to the board and community around things that we have already satisfied as far as our action items. So that includes increasing school-based therapist positions, restorative specialist positions. We formed an alternative education committee and identified priorities for 24-25. Per our negotiations, we reduced the counselor to student ratio from 500 to 1 to 400 to 1 for this coming school year. We focused a lot on safety and security, increasing campus supervisors while we weren't able to fill all of those positions, as well as making sure we did fill all of our family engagement facilitator positions. There was an ask to provide more incentives for substitutes to come and work for us, so we did that. In addition, I authorized a roaming substitute for each of our schools for the first half of the school year, so there would be additional adult supervision on campus. We increased safe school ambassadors programs at our school sites, which is peer-to-peer work that we're very happy about, and in support and funding from SCO, or the Sonoma County Office of Education. We've provided de-escalation and restorative training to staff. We've been collaborating with the city of Santa Rosa regarding a pilot SRO program. We continue to focus on and dig deeper into Tier 1 academic supports, which means the first instruction that students receive in the classroom. We've increased after-school and summer programs. We've updated and implemented the facilities master plan. We've completed risk assessments at all schools. We've upgraded our high school bathrooms. We've developed a communication strategic plan. We've increased communication efforts with positive messaging, including our Hearts and Minds campaign, and we provided site administration with ready-made resources for timelier messaging of incidents on campus. This is just a snapshot. We have done much more than this, but these are some of the highlights that I wanted to share tonight as far as our work during this year. Speaking of Hearts and Minds, you may have noticed a lot of additional communications going out. We've encouraged our school sites to please tag our district Facebook page so that it's going out everywhere. We've been working with the Press Democrat, which I'll get to in a moment, to highlight more positive messaging around what's going on in our schools. Parent Square is our foundational platform for how we communicate outside of our district with our families. And here you can see the number of students, staff, parents. The numbers aren't quite accurate because they're duplicates or triplicates at times, depending on the ways in which people would like to engage with us. You can see the various languages that people say are a part of their demographics, who we are reaching, and 99% of the people who sign up are contactable. Here's some additional data on how people are being reached or their preferred methods of being reached. We have a very low fail rate. I think there was one error. So it's essentially almost zero as far as failed emails and failed text messages. And we have 46% of our parents using the app. A lot of people also access it online and in other ways. As I mentioned before, this board approved a communication strategic plan. So the 5 key goals in that strategic plan over the next 3 years is to strengthen transparency and communication, promote the district as a choice for families and employees, emphasize diversity and inclusivity, champion the district as a unifying force in the community, and enhance participation and engagement in district meetings. Our Hearts and Minds campaign is something that you may have seen where we've gone out with a partner to do a lot of videoing and hear from our students, our staff, and our parents directly. And I would like to play a clip of that now. Is it because my volume is down? Where's Vanessa? Sorry, can you come help me? This always happens to me during my report.
We clicked all the right buttons.
It says turn up volume. Yeah, you might need to. Try it again.
I'm a bilingual ambassador and I talk Spanish and help translate for other students that don't speak English.
First, I needed help and I was really sad and shy because I couldn't say something by myself and I needed to ask for translation and everything. But now I am the one that is translating and helping people.
I moved to the US when I was 4 years old and I don't know how I did it, but I was able to learn English in 7 months and I was fluent by then.
My parents, they don't speak any English, but I'm teaching them how to speak.
Tenemos mucha comunicación con los padres. Nos aseguramos de que ellos tengan en su idioma, ¿verdad? Ya como yo, que soy bilingüe, que entiendan todo lo que se refiere a la escuela, a la educación de sus hijos.
Finding a friend that speaks the same language as you is a very special thing because it's almost like you and their thing, you know?
Al inicio pues era difícil hablar en inglés, era como difícil comunicarme con ellos porque ellos casi a veces no me entendían, pero ahorita que ya estoy más agarrando el idioma ya es como que me llevo más con ellos, puedo echar más relajo.
It doesn't matter if you're like, if people say that you're weird, it's like just how you are. You don't like have to have to pretend to be somebody else.
Now we want to keep going. So, all right. No, it won't stop. I can hear myself. There, thank you. So this Hearts and Minds campaign was really designed because we wanted to be sure that our community heard the beauty and directly from our students, that we have a lot of positive connections happening in our district. And we really wanted that to continue to be a part of our narrative. There we go. And on that note, we've been working intently, and I want to just thank our Public Information Officer, Vanessa Wedderburn, who's been working directly with our press to highlight all of the wonderful things going on in our district, highlighting our students and the really good things that are going on in our district. And this is just a snapshot. There are way more stories, and it was an important priority for this board and direction that you gave to be sure that this is the work that we were doing. Some services and supports, I'll go through these as quickly as possible without limiting the true work. From our Human Resources Department, we have finally completely and are providing in-house fingerprinting services for new employees, substitutes, coaches, and volunteers. We're one of 2 entities in the city who's actually offering LiveScan, and we're doing that just for the individuals for our district. So I know it makes a huge difference. And I really just want to take a moment because I know at the beginning this was a little bumpy. And so we really appreciate everyone's patience as we worked through the process and really refined it to make it a well-oiled machine. We have a senior secretary and front desk receptionist for the district office. This really more applied initially at our Ridgeway district office location because we had people showing up there and wandering our hallways, not knowing which place to go. And so it was important for us for customer service and bilingual support that we had a person established for that. We have been working on having all of our classified evaluations in one of our online systems, which helps us to streamline the process, and we're piloting that for this coming year. And just to celebrate that we did come to a tentative agreement with SRTA on a collective bargaining agreement for the next 3 years, with the caveat of coming back on a few items, including compensation in January of 2025. And so I want to give my kudos back. Thank you so much to SRTA and our team for working so collaboratively that we can get this done and really come down to what we believe are our priorities and how we will work together going forward. In addition, our HR department continues to monitor our COVID data. While our numbers are low, right now we're seeing 0 to 3 cases each week. That's also because there aren't as many reported cases anymore. Technically, we, at the end of this month, are no longer legally required to continue this monitoring. And so I will be working with the board on how we want to proceed. But all of this information is on our website and it is updated weekly. Our facilities maintenance and operations department has been very busy. I won't go through all of these, but this is an example of all of the work, starting with our facilities master plan, the renovations to several of our departments. You can see here the number of work orders that have been received, over 3,000, and the number that have been resolved is over 3,000. We have several facilities projects that are going on at our school sites, which also includes a lot of summer projects as well. I will state that we are looking at, if you've been by the Ridgeway District Office location, that district office location, those buildings are almost completely demolished as it was necessary. And so we are going through the potential of a new design of what that new district office will be in the next 3 years or so. I know that it is a point of contention for some. It is a sensitive topic. We are an employer, and that means that we have to provide clean, safe, and dry facilities for all of our employees, which includes all of the people who work at our district office, who help to ensure that our schools and our staff and our students and families are well supported. We are going to be seeking eventually feedback into that design. And one thing that I leave as far as the vision that I've been sort of planting seeds around with this building, we've had portables for quite a number of years, over 70 years. And there is a message that comes along with that. While I know that it was also necessary and purposeful, to be able to have an established building in our district also sends a message that we are here and this is our community and we stand strong in how we support our students. And so one thing that I've asked in that build is that the building itself, that from the outside, you can see that we serve our youth. And so I think that's going to be a uniqueness that I hope comes to fruition. I did ask for the record that maybe a room be named after me, just saying. Just kidding, just kidding. But no, serious, not serious. Okay. So lots of great work. 2 points of pride that we have here are how we are finally moving forward with the 2-story building at Montgomery High School. We know that this was a long time coming, and thank you to everyone who set the groundwork for this and those who are literally doing the groundwork. And then, of course, the remodeling of our bathrooms, which we knew was a major priority for our community, especially at our high schools. And we celebrated 100 years at the Lewis School this year. And so for the building that it is and how many generations that it has served, we were able to celebrate that this year. Fiscal planning, we have such a comprehensive, and I want to give so much kudos to the team who holds this work. We are very transparent about our fiscal decision-making and conversations and communication. You can see here over the course of this school year, the various ways in which we've done that. And I've actually been asked to, in settings with other superintendents, explain our visual model here because there are individuals who would like to replicate it. So kudos to our team for the ways in which we do this. Purchasing is also very busy. We have a lot of new classroom startups happening. There's new furniture that's being piloted right now. We just brought in a new copier fleet, which you wouldn't think you'd have to have a committee over this, but it's really important about how efficient these machines can be for our schools and for our departments. We've done quite a number of repairs, and we've processed over 200 school site repair tickets. Our warehouse staff is very hard at work, and they have been instrumental. I feel like we need to give them a round of applause because they've been so instrumental in moving district offices from one place to the other and working with us to make that as seamless as possible. And we have a variety of special projects that are also on their plate. So kudos to all of these teams. Technology is something that we continue to focus on and making sure that we stay innovative, that we are constantly looking at refresh of machines that we are using, making sure that all of those devices are available for our students. We've implemented the interactive flat panels in our classrooms. We have solving of 4,565 recorded support requests. They are definitely a part of the district office move. There are several trainings that our team has provided. We're working on standard operating procedures for several things. There's a lot of research going on in terms of how we move forward in policy and plans, specifically especially around cyber threats, which we know is affecting many organizations today. We're constantly collaborating with our stakeholders. And just as an extra, whenever we have special board meetings or other particular asks, it is that team who is doing all of that work behind the scenes. So thank you for all of that work that you do to make sure that our work is seamless as possible. We can't go without saying, the meals that we serve in our district, we continue to increase the number. I think from last year to this year, it looks like it's over almost 50,000 more meals this year than last year. We heard a report from our Child Nutrition Services team about the ways that they're trying to be more innovative, be more culturally responsive, and connected to the ways in which that we are serving our students, having taste tests, and getting our students' opinion on what they like and don't like. So kudos to our team there. Special services, we've increased by 124 students. First-time access to core classes with general education peers through co-teaching. That's definitely something to be celebrated. We have an additional 85 students this year in our diploma track. We are working with SCO for students who are served. 39 more students from SCO served in their home district, with 17 more coming for the 24 to 25 school year. We have been working on implementing the Sunday program, which is our structured literacy reading program. We're supporting increases in special education referrals, and we're opening up 5 new classrooms for 92 students to support additional referrals in programs like preschool, counseling, autism spectrum, and extensive needs. So that's something to be celebrated. Educational services, we can go on for many slides, and I know I won't do it justice because there's so much work going on behind the scenes, but in order to reconnect to our kids, we are looking at what we call street data, which also includes empathy interviews and looking from the student level on what they need. We're expanding our ethnic studies courses. We've increased the number of students who've been reclassified and received the seal of biliteracy. We're revisiting, as I mentioned before, instructional practices such as Tier 1, math focus, ethnic studies, ELD implementation, and foundational skills for our literacy programs. We're also looking at extended learning opportunities, summer school expansion, credit recovery, and night school. And we've been doing all of these things this school year. And of course, focus on our alternative education programs. I keep getting tongue-tied. And also continuing to expand our CTE pathways with the assistance of various grants that are available to us. And of course, the CTE Foundation. This is an example of our summer programs over the years and how we've ebbed and flowed, and we are up as far as the number of students that we believe that we are going to be serving this summer with all of this variety of programs that you see here. Our information and evaluation services team works on everything from reports and analytics to supporting our state assessment programs, providing professional development on our various data platforms, operations development, including how to systematize truancy notifications and other data-related things like our report cards, and then some internal operations systems, looking at integrations nightly with a program to PowerShell for easier use, as well as integrating an internal documentation website for processes, codes and step-by-step instructions in order to support staff in maintaining those integrations. There's more than information and evaluation services does, which also helps us to monitor accountability and communications. They are our partner in how we work on our Parent Square auto notices, as well as 504 notifications, and doing a lot of work with us on our analytics for data, such as ARIES, which is our student information system. We also developed a new school locator system that we built in-house so that we don't need to rely on outside vendors for that support. Wellness and engagement was a new department for us this year, formerly part of the Student and Family Engagement Department. And so they focus on several things, including how to support our restorative specialists, our school-based therapists during regular meetings each year, and having support of our campus supervisors. They also focus on wellness and engagement, panorama surveys, youth truth surveys. They help us with our Safe School Ambassadors program, Safe Routes to School, our school safety plans. We have a partnership with the Violence Prevention Partnership with the City of Santa Rosa, and they have been also hosting parent cafes. Wellness and engagement is working on several ways to assist us fiscally with growing programs through the Community Schools Partnership Grant, a multi-payer fee schedule, which I won't go into great detail, our capacity grant, and a wellness coaches grant, just to name a few things. While it's not mentioned here, wellness and engagement is also directly working on how we can increase attendance, and that also includes how we help notify around truancies. So we've actually had, let me go to this slide. We've actually seen an increase in our attendance rates. So our absentee rates have declined by 10%, which means we've increased attendance by 10%. And then our suspension rates are down. We're actually down almost 40% as far as the number of incidents that are happening on our campuses this year. So some continued focus areas that I hope to seed plant with the next superintendent, including implementation of the school safety advisor positions, formerly the campus supervisor and student advisor positions, continue facilities upgrades for safety and well-being, continue working towards fiscal sustainability with the focus on equity and cultural responsiveness, calibration of best practices and professional development opportunities, the development of wellness centers, a continuation of access to social emotional learning and mental health support staff, access to support programs such as APA, side-by-side, alongside, and other online apps, increase the use of our Stop It app, which for this year was a 43% increase since last year, and an unrelenting determination to keep equity, anti-racism, and social justice at the heart of everything we do by reinforcing behavioral expectations and support practices and data-driven decision-making. And with that, I thank you for your time for this annual report.
Thank you, Superintendent Trinnell. Moving on.
Can I just say just a couple of things? I just want to say thank you, Superintendent Trinnell. It's amazing. I love this report. I love this final report from you, but I want to say that this report gives the public a glimpse of everything that you and your staff and the schools and this board does in the year. And it's really important to just take a look. This is, you know, how many pages of slides, but each slide represents countless hours of work and dedication that you've done. And I'm really proud. I'm really proud of everything that was accomplished this year. And, you know, I know that you're leaving us in good hands. I'm wondering if this presentation can be made available, if it can be put on the website for folks to reference.
Yes, it absolutely can. And I thank you for your comments. And I just want to reiterate our educational services team, like all of our teams, for their hard work, business services, human resources, all of our school
Everything.
sites for the work that they do. This is truly a team effort. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you. D4, Board President Report. Due to President Medina not being here, I have a very small report to mention. On May 9th, I had the privilege to visit our reclassification and seal by literacy ceremony along with Trustee De La Cruz. And we had a couple of cameo appearances from Director Manieri and Director De La Torre. Thank you for attending as well. And it was truly inspiring to see how many students were reclassified and how many students received the seal by literacy. That just shows, what some of the good things we're doing here in our district. So that's the end of my report. Do we have any board member reports? Trustee De La Cruz.
Thank you, thank you. Just lifting up the joy that happened in that seal of biliteracy and reclassification ceremony. I think there was a student who actually achieved both in the same moment, which is just so cool, right? To not only be reclassified from being an English language learner, but also to receive the seal of biliteracy. So really excited about that work in our district. Also had a really music-filled couple of weeks since our last meeting, and huge props to Elsie Allen and CCOA's combined marching band, who won the Luther Burbank Prize for the best marching band. They were amazing. And if you know who their drum major is, please give Anastasio Tovar an extra gold star for really being a band parent extraordinaire. Also had the pleasure of attending the Santa Rosa High School's spring music concert. Many, many thanks to Mr. Decker, as well as all of the music teachers who came out and really showcased Santa Rosa City Schools' love for music and the way that we love to also share it with our community. Also had the pleasure of attending the North Coast section as a proud track mom, the Meet of Champions, and there's some amazing athletes in here who showed up to represent so many of the Santa Rosa City Schools high schools that showed up and just did such a beautiful job of representing our community on the field. And congratulations to the amazing athletes at Maria Carrillo and at Monty who are going to represent at the state champions. So that's super cool. Yeah, yay. And then I also just want to give a special shout out to Heather Garcia Rossi, who continues to just lead in beautiful ways on the ethnic studies work. Really excited to see the development of an ethnic studies hub that we'll pull together at some point for public consumption. All the beautiful ways in which our district is really moving this ball forward. So thank you. And it's really a pleasure to serve on that committee. And then finally, I just want to lift up the fact that something that hit the news today, that my son, Ome Zuniga, has been selected by his peers and by people as part of this process to serve as our student board member. And I just wanted to be really clear and transparent about that. He doesn't share a last name with me. It's part of my being a feminist that I didn't necessarily take my husband's last name when we got married. And so in the interests of full transparency and of also being a super proud mom, I just want to bring that to the board. And out of abundance of caution and a recognition of how much negative attention my family and I have received for our anti-racist approaches to life and policy and showing up in our community, I will not vote on his kind of taking this position, approving the choice that was not made by this board, but was made pursuant to policy. But also recognizing that there actually isn't a conflict of interest with him serving on the board at the same time as I serve on the board as an elected official. And I think the last thing that I just want to say is that, we're seeing an increase of racist bullying, of racial slurs being utilized by students, by community members. And I just want to lift up the recognition that these things do not go unnoticed. And it is our responsibility as leaders in our community to make sure that they do not go unaddressed. want to be very clear that talking about racism and trying to heal institutions from the generational harm that has been experienced by people of color, and exclusion that has been experienced by people of color, does not equate to racism. Those things are not equivalent. And so just want to make sure that we as leaders in this community continue to say, we see, right, racist bullying, we see racialized slurs, we see and we will address in ways that are about healing, right, not shame, not continuing to cause harm, but we will really address these things as leaders in our community. And so really grateful to be in community with leaders who really share these values around the importance of being anti-racist and of continuing to bring justice to the ways in which we serve our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee De La Cruz. Trustee Sheffield?
Well, I too, thank you. I wanted to give a big congratulations out to all the students who participated in the Rhodes Parade over the weekend. I saw lots of our kids. And I just want to say it's an amazing way to come out and celebrate community. Big congratulations to LC and CCLA, Mr. Nava and Mr. Thompson for winning the Best Bands category. Santa Rosa City Schools, we're so fortunate to have just a robust visual and performing arts at all of our campuses. And so a big thank you to Eric Olson for that as well. And lastly, a big shout out to Pioneer High marching band. They were right behind my kids, both my boys' scouting troop. And my son Orion went over and talked to members of the band and the band instructor, Mr. Meyer, and he came back to me and he really wants to have a conversation about early recruitment to play at Pioneer. So thank you again and congratulations to all of our students and big congratulations to LC and CCLA.
Thank you, Trustee Sheffield. Trustee De La Torre?
Thank you. Since this is our last board meeting prior to June 7th, I just wanted to lift up our entire community and thank them for a very thoughtful, very purposeful, and very eventful year. Trials and tribulations, highs and lows, and I'm super proud of all of our students that have put the work in to have the opportunity and graduate this year. And there are a couple weeks left. And I know there are some students that come scraping in hot and don't give up. Keep your head up, keep your eye on the prize, stay dedicated to your peers and your mentors, and finish off all the hard work that you put in. None of that is possible without our amazing teachers and staff and administrations on each of those sites that have supported them and lifted those students up. So really proud of our students and our teachers and our staff for another successful year, and look forward to putting more work in to have better opportunities for all of our students next year. Audrey, you are currently my favorite senior Puma, so congratulations on everything. You lose that title in a few weeks, so enjoy it. But just thank you. Thank you for all your work. Thank you for your time and dedication to this board. And thank you to everybody who comes to these meetings and speaks their minds and speaks their truths and stays involved in the process so that we have the resources and temperament understood of what policies to put forward that you guys need to continue to succeed.
Thank you, Director De La Torre. Any other board members? Okay, thank you. D6, safety report. Do we have a safety report, Superintendent Trunell? We do not. Thank you. D7, our Indian education report. Presenting these items are Elizabeth Billy, Donna Feather Cruz, and Donna Fernandez.
Please. Thank you for the opportunity, Vice President Flores. I'm only here to introduce, you already did, but once again, our Indian education community worker, Elizabeth Billy, Madonna Feather Cruz, our Indian education president, and Donna Fernandez, Indian education teacher representative. I'll turn it over to them. They're going to get set up here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure for us to be here tonight to to just to do a follow-up on Indian education on our Native American population. We have been doing a lot this year. Really not as much as I wanted. When we first started off the year, our rate, our population identification numbers were really low. And as you know, this is a grant that's funded by and it's driven by numbers and by forms and by identification. And I really, really not having all of the schools on board, understanding that process and how that works has been a hindrance for me to identify who my Native American students are and therefore to serve them. So I hit the ground really hard this year trying to get those 506 forms done. And I did that in so many crazy various ways, but we got 100, we ended up with 174, which is an okay number. It's the highest number we've had. However, we probably do have about 225 Native American students. And so those other ones are not being served, or if they are being served, but we don't really know it and we're not capturing that data. So anyways, we're going to start off with our kind of just a little bit about what we're doing. And we went out to Yakiyama, which is in Forestville, and it's our native land, and it belongs to all of the tribes in the county. And so we're really proud of that land as a people. And so we were able to take a field trip, and Donna might want to talk a little bit about that because she kind of spearheaded that field trip and it was awesome.
Donna Fernandez Lombok. I am a teacher over at Pioneer High and very thankful to sit on the Indian Education Committee as a teacher representative to make sure that our district knows that we also have not only students that are Native American, but we also have staff, which is wonderful. And so Yakima Indian Education Field Trip was a collaboration of our ethnic studies courses. We have my statistics for social justice class, and De La Salas took her Spanish ethnic studies course, students out, and then Eric Cecil accompanied us. So it was a really good collaboration to have students to really recognize the land that we're on, looking at native plants, hearing from presenters about native plants, getting to taste acorn mush, which was awesome, and then being able to see, and fry bread also too. So it was a really good for our students were just in awe that the land was there, what they could learn about the Pomo people from this area. So it was a really good trip. Okay. So last fall, we shared information about the program. And as you can see, I won't read this whole slide, but those are the areas that we touched on in our last fall presentation. So tonight, we're really going to start digging into the data and where our program's headed. So we are in Title VI grant. Did you want to do this one?
No.
Okay. Title VI grant, we received funding from a grant, a multi-year grant. That's 3 years. We hosted a meeting of our parent committee on March 27th to approve the grant and the needs and assessments that were taken during this year. And as you can see, we also had an increase in funding. So that's some of the highlights of our grant. And then we did a needs assessment this year, and looking at what our students said, this is, we had 42% of our students say they want more information on what the Indian Education Program offers. So right there, that speaks volumes that we need to get the word out about what our Indian Education Program is, offers, and services our students with. They said that 38% say that their needs are fully met. Most of the needs include cultural identity and awareness, social emotional needs with college and help with college enrollment. So those are our top priorities that we'll be focusing on this next year. 63% would like to see Native American clubs expanded, and 46% would like more field trips. So those are some of the data that we're going to be looking at tonight. And then our parents also participated in a needs assessment, and theirs was 25% say their needs are fully met, 55% want to learn more. So again, the same thing on the parent side. They need to know what our program is about and what services that they can access for their students. There is a big need to continue to get more help with college and understanding the process, and especially the scholarships that are available to Native Americans, as well as the free tuition for Native Americans at the UC. So our parents really need to understand that and know that. There is a support for the integration of the Native American Studies curriculum and content into the school system. Parents do want to see that, and they support that. 85% said they would like to see more culture-related activities, and 80% would like mentoring programs. And so that will really help our students to know the programs that are available to them, how to access resources, and then really be able to connect with somebody so that they can do well in school. And parents are willing to volunteer, so that's a good thing. And so this is a breakdown of the data of what you just saw. As you can see, there is the 37% saying yes, the program fully meets the needs. But we do have a large chunk here still saying that they are unaware of the services that are provided, that we can provide here. So that is a really concern, and we're an area that we want to address. One area that I know the parent committee has talked about is to ensuring that we do have an active website on the Santa Rosa City School District. Right now it is fairly old, we still need to understand the process for accessing that and updating that with timely information. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, so I was brought into Windsor with respect of the Lytton tribe moving back home and getting their Indian education up and running and ready for them when they got there, which they're there now. And what is working for them to know what's going on is I text their superintendent assistant, and they are putting out any Native American events that we're holding, and it's going straight to the parents. So I think if you guys want it, that the parents are wanting that. So I think we would need that assistance of one of us or all of us able to send it to whoever to get it on the Parent Square app that they have. The feedback is really good from them because they're knowing right immediately and able to put it on their calendars.
Yes. And so the bottom represents the breakdown of the needs that students identified. And our biggest need, again, is the knowledge of cultural identity. Our students need to know who they are, not that, obviously they know that they're Native American, but they need to see this from a perspective in the school system. They need to have support and recognition within the classroom, not just on particular holidays. This needs to be included in history courses and in the ethnic studies, which is already started. So this is great that we are moving in the right direction. Our next biggest area is social emotional needs. So thank you for looking and establishing more wellness centers. So that will definitely help our students in that area too. Okay, I'm going to move on to, here are what our students said they would like. And you can see we have a large bar to represent 62.5% of our students still want to have Native American clubs. So this would be something that could definitely be supported so to ensure that each of our sites do have a Native American club and a place to hold those clubs, as well as help with advisors at the school and not just our Indian education family and community service person, Liz.
Yes, and often the board asks what we need and this and that, and so you can see it. I'm not saying it. I've been saying it, but now they're saying it, and so the students are saying,
It's right here at the top of my list. What can the board do?
Yeah, and so, and I explained to you, when we first did, when we came in the beginning of the year, and I said some of these schools I'm having a hard time getting into, having a space, and I understand space is an issue, but we got to find it, I need the support. I need a teacher, an advisor, or somebody who will spearhead, partner with me. They say you can have this classroom, give me this classroom, and then allow us to have club. And so some of that issue too is like, we can only have club during lunch, which I get taking kids out of class and that type of thing. But having it only at lunchtime means that they need food. And so somehow we need to work that because my personal budget is depleted. This year I spent so much money on pizza, it's no longer a $5 pizza, and so those are the things that I need help with. And like Donna said, it's just me. And so as you see, there's a 42% of people who don't know what Indian education is or what and it's because maybe I haven't been able to go get to all of those people, but all of our school sites, they should know. And so, and them knowing should in turn have the parents to know. So I'm just saying, we no longer can operate as our small little island. We have to, the community has to embrace us a little bit more.
I would like to also say on that note, I have access to Superintendent of Windsor Schools credit card. So every first Thursday of the month, when I'm having my family night, all the materials are paid for and all of the food is paid for. So our Santa Rosa City kids are coming to Windsor to have that opportunity.
Okay, I'm not asking for the credit card, just to be clear.
I need a credit card.
She might want it, but no, Liz doesn't want it. This is a breakdown of what our parents were saying. In the pie graph, you see 55% want to learn more about how the Native American is currently serving in the community. And then we have the breakdown of the needs specifically that parents addressed. And again, we have 2 at 70% is the academic achievement. They do want to see increase of our Native American students, and then again, college enrollment. So it's really good to see our parents talk about higher education and having that as a need for our students. I know that could be definitely something that's addressed at our college and career centers to specifically help our Native American students know about the financial services that are available to them, financial aid and scholarships. So that would be really helpful to have again, or an area listed on the website so that they can be directed towards that. We've had a number of parents call us at the committee, and so we send over this big long page of resources and scholarships available. But it'd be great if it was in one single location that parents could access.
Like our college and career centers on the campuses of our high schools.
Yeah.
And Indian education place, spot, and all the information there. And I can help with that.
Okay, and then again, this is what our parents said. So 85% would like culturally related activities. And that's important for our students to have those activities, just like we saw, the field trip to Yakima was not only beneficial for all students to understand the ancestral and indigenous people that were here and looking at the native plants that are still tended. So this is important for our students to be able to see this. Liz and I had the opportunity to look at what was Laguna Foundation? Yeah, Laguna Foundation, which is super close to Piner. And that is in partnership with Grayton Federated Rancheria. And that is a wonderful space that can be utilized to provide a field trip to look at the native plants that are still being tended and used in ceremony and traditional practices. So then we look at 80% of our 80% of our parents are saying they want mentoring programs. Again, our parents are asking for services that can directly impact and the students one-on-one. And clubs are important, but being able to have a mentor and being able to someone to talk to, show the ropes, be a role model to, those are important for our students. So visibility really matters. And then also going along with that, our parents want to have college tours. So we have the Santa Rosa Junior College here. They did not have their Native American day this year, which was unfortunate, but we want to make sure that we have access to being able to do field trips to Sonoma State University, which does have a Native American Studies department. And then if you go north, we've got Mendocino County, and they have a really good college up there that has a great American Indian Day. And a number of colleges offer American Indian Day or American Indian Outreach Day. So like I know UC Davis does. So it would be very helpful if we could put together some field trips to plan those and have those assisted in funding to be able to take our students to. And sometimes these will take place on Saturday. So, those are some of the areas of concern. Okay. All right.
So I have mentioned this in the past on a public comment when I stop in to chat with you guys. So again, this is an open invitation at Pioneer. And I know one of you has came in the past. Oh no, and Roderick too. So you guys, please come and check it out. The data I've got from students who graduate high school who were honored at the 8th grade level have came and talked to me either at this ceremony or later at other events, that a number of them say, if you guys didn't honor me at 8th grade, I didn't see myself graduating. So to hear that from different income brackets and just homes of the Native students, that's basically like a whole campaign within itself, which I should probably get on and do. But it's really important. So I do invite you guys to come.
Okay.
Okay, so when we do our Native events, they are open to the public, right? If there's a flyer for a Native American event, that means anybody can come. And so at this event, it was nice to see, different nations come, Black, white, Asian. It was a lot of fun. And sometimes people get really afraid of math, but we have an amazing master math teacher right here, Donna. And she just makes it so fun. And she has these robotic things that, just get people so hooked. And this one little kid was like chasing me with them. So math is fun, and come to an event in the future.
And we had pie, so
Yes.
who gives that pie?
And we're thankful that this year we partnered with Comstock, so I was able to get to that middle school level, and that is an important level to get to and show that math can be fun and lots of thinking going on. In the top right corner, we did integrate into culture into this night and looking at how the hand drums utilizing they're in the shape of a circle, utilize the hoop and understanding of the relationship between the circumference and the diameter, which is known as pi.
Yeah, and we made it. And so going back to social emotional, this is a mural that we did at Pioneer High School. And this is just a piece of it, of the new wellness center that they're going to be opening up. And this is just a part that is for the Native Americans. So the club got together and lots of our students did a lot of the painting along with the artist, and very proud of it. So that's what's showcased there.
I was able to represent both our traditional dances and the beautiful basketry. So I definitely know I'll be bringing my students out there when we're talking about similar triangles. And you want to talk about the course?
Just that we're just going in the right direction for our ethnic studies. So we have our Native American study course. And so it's right in line with what students are wanting, parents are wanting, and of course, what we've always wanted. And so I'm serving on that committee, and we're just partnering with people just to make sure that they're getting a good Native American education as to our current like current studies and what's happening with the natives right here in their backyard. And also, some past history too, and different things like that. So lining up different guest speakers for them so that the teachers don't feel that burden, because it might be hard for them to teach, Native American, not being Native American. So lining up some of those speakers for them, and of course, we're giving them all the curriculum. So that's what that is. Okay. And we just want to say thank you for always supporting, always being interested, and for your time and always wanting to hear from us.
Do you guys have any questions for us?
We know you do.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you to the fabulous Elizabeth Bailey, Madonna Feather Cruz, and Donna Fernandez. Thank you so much for being, I know we have lots of questions. So I'm going to reserve my questions till the end. So I'll take some names. Anyone? Yes. Director De La Cruz.
Thank you so much for your work and just the beautiful visibility that you bring to Native students, and to make sure that those students feel reflected in their teachers is just beautiful. So really grateful for the way in which you are just out there doing the beautiful work. I really heard a request for help to get the word out about Indian Ed. And kind of some basic questions around how do we update a website and make sure that the information on there is accessible and new. So wanting to just make sure that those kind of connections are made inside of, our admin department. I know our superintendent is really respectful and very quick to act when those requests are made. And so just hoping that some of those lines get connected here tonight. I loved also the request for space in every school and a teacher who would support the creation of a club. And so this is just big props to the teachers who hold spaces for many clubs, and recognizing the importance, right, to life outcomes to be seen, and to have a space inside of your educational experience that acknowledges and respects who you are. I can't imagine that that's more critical for Native students than many other populations. And so just, a big request, and thanks in advance to those teachers who will step up to create those spaces. And then, this conversation around counseling for Native American students to the college level. Love to just hear, where there are resources that are working so far to really serve Native kids in a culturally responsive way, get them talking about their identities and their college applications, making sure that we know kind of where there are colleges that have strong programs, not only here in Sonoma County, but across the country, right? So I think it'd be amazing to send, Santa Rosa City Schools Native American student to Dartmouth, right? And who has those kinds of programs that really are about this entire, this entire continent and that history. And so, that question around counseling, I think in particular really spoke to me. So I just was wondering what's working right now? Are there students who would come back and graduates who have succeeded to come back and hold some of those workshops? Can we support them in any way to do some of that peer counseling for college applications?
Right now, we actually are, one of our guest speakers for the graduation ceremony is Yaquez Brown. He's over at Santa Rosa Junior College, and he's coming back to talk to our students to encourage them and do that. Yep, him and his sister are both there, so.
He'll be our keynote.
Yep.
Great. And then I know, this is also kind of about the dual enrollment opportunities for kids at the JC. So the JC has a new Native professor in psychology starting in the fall. Her course is going to be about decolonizing psychology. And so I can imagine how amazing it would be for Native students in Santa Rosa City Schools to be able to, dual enroll and take some of those classes at the JC. And so any ways in which, board policy or board, direction in that regard to provide some specific opportunities for Native students around dual enrollment to really expand the course offerings that are culturally responsive and that, again, are taught by Native, by Native teachers, I think is so critical to your point earlier, Elizabeth. And I will see you on Friday the 31st. Thank you so much for that invitation. It's always beautiful to be in spaces that you hold and create. And so I'm really grateful for your work. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee De La Cruz. Trustee Sheffield.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Just a couple of questions I had about how does the Indian education program, how do we utilize college and career spaces on our campuses currently?
I usually utilize them usually about the end of the year, getting the students into the what I usually promote as the summer bridge program. So that's usually when I'm kind of working with them. During the rest of the year, I'm usually not really in a lot of contact with them. It's kind of that time period where, but if I come across where I'm always like sharing information, like if there's a workshop or something like that, that's, I'll send it, because a lot of times our college and career people, they don't know who are our Native students.
Right.
So if something's just particular to, you have to be Native American in order to participate or whatever, then I don't want to put that burden on them. So that's why I was saying if there's a section or a spot that's just for the Native Americans, that way they would know, okay, that's going to go here, kind of thing. And then it would be easier. But right now, the way I utilize them is just they help me with getting students enrolled in for the JC for the summer bridge program, helping me like get passes, I use their space to like the computer, whatever, to get students signed up for the JC. But that's, and if they have if they know of any scholarships, whatever, then they give it to me and then I forward it on to parents. But just kind of like sharing information and then using, they kind of help me during the summer bridge time.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how, and at the top of my list was what can we do?
Yeah.
What can we do? And wondering what can we do as a board, as a district? Just
Hire a Native American liaison who's a local tribal person.
Okay, yeah. I'm trying to think of, so much of the data that you shared, the surveys was around mentoring.
Yeah.
Right.
So like if you have so me in my dream world, so if you had a staff member, like either your family engagement or whoever, if you had a staff member, with this multiple section of duties to do. So one of their duties was to help the College and Career Center have a section, a place in that college and career that was Native American that was Native American, it would just say Native American, whatever
Yeah,
center.
any
And so have that little-
opportunities.
Yeah, and then I would then feed that staff member so that I wouldn't have to physically go to all of these sites.
Right.
And, so if you had somebody and that became part of their duties, or if you just hired somebody and that became part of their duties, I'm good with that too. But just that's my dream.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of like focus on college applications, college tours that were brought up.
Yeah,
You had
exactly.
mentioned, yes, that we did not have the day at SRJC, but Mendocino College has it. Maybe there's weekend opportunities. But there certainly is a desire from the students and the
Yeah.
programs and their families. And I think there's a willingness from,
I mean, if your college and career staff had the time, I could
Right.
give them a list of what Native American students are on their campus. And then if they had ways on, because I don't know exactly what they do, but if I gave them the list and then they knew, okay.
who was there, yeah.
Exactly. These are my Native students. And wow, look at this. This is a scholarship for Native students or this is a scholar, whatever. I could do
More
that, too.
opportunity, right? So,
Yeah.
this brings to me to my second question was, I think you began the presentation with, maybe it's the start of the year when you're identifying
Mhm.
students to participate in the program. And you captured more this year than maybe previous years, but we know we're not capturing everyone. So what can we do to help capture more students?
So the capturing the students goes back to like registration and our registrars and that paperwork. And so when a student applies.
These are the 5 to 6 page
And
forms.
they identify as Native American, then the staff asking, like what I said at the beginning was like when you have to do it online, and if they hit Native American, that it wouldn't let them go forward until they listed, until they filled out the 506 form. You know, like you know how some things you fill out and it'll stop you in your
Yeah, there's a
tracks,
hiccup. And
right? And so, but that would be my perfect world again.
Okay.
But somehow, you know, it's left up to whoever's getting all that information. And then you know how you have to bring in all of your paperwork to register for school. So when they see that box, then the 506 form should be done. I think sometimes what happens is parents may not know that information, or they say, I don't want to do it right now or something.
Yeah.
So then what would need to happen then is that if they mark that box, then that name either needs to come to me and I need to investigate and get that 506, or that box needs to get unmarked.
Yeah.
So, and I know that I know that the schools and the registrars and I know we've gone round and round about how that legally can happen and how that can happen logistically. And so I think there hasn't ever come up with, and I've been here 6 years, I think. So it hasn't come up with a solution yet. So we're still doing what we do. You know, so, and that's just me.
Yeah, no,
again,
these are, this is good
yeah,
information.
so
This is
that's
areas
me
that we
calling
know we need
parents,
to work
that's
on.
me. And there, I mean, you are still going to get a handful of people who don't want to do the form.
Yeah.
They're not going to do the form. But I have them on my list, and I'm like, okay, so you don't do the form. I know you're Native American. I have them on my list and I send them stuff. You know, I send them all my Native American stuff. So
And is that effective? Does that work?
yeah.
Okay,
they-
okay. And I mean, word of mouth is a good,
They
know.
come to some of my community nights. They come to different things, but they won't fill out the form.
Okay.
But I'm not gonna reject them.
I
I'm
think
like,
that's something that we can
I'm not gonna reject
hopefully
them. Like,
work with
come
you
on,
on.
you know, I'm hopefully one day they'll be like feeling bad and want to fill out that form.
Yeah.
But no, they'll come to stuff and I'm like, okay.
Well, and again, it's just about opportunity. And I think, and for something
and
like this, where it's
sometimes
cultural
some parents
identity
see it
and
as
this is.
privacy things. Sorry to
I get
interrupt you.
it. I get it.
They're like,
you
I
know.
don't want you to know my
Respect.
stuff, you know? Yeah, so, and I respect that.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do have a couple of follow-ups. Okay, so, thank you. Took a lot of my questions here.
We
You
only
know,
have 10 minutes. You make me look bad.
I was sharing this with, calling you president, Superintendent Trinnell, that we need some sort of liaison, right? A site liaison that can work in tandem with our Indian education. That person could be anybody, right? That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing. So what would it take for that to happen?
Money. It will take funding. However, and Dr. Castro maybe could speak more to this. You know, it's something that we would have to look at our current budget and see what we would be able to fund and what does that look like, and the potential creation of either a stipended position, whether there would have to be a job description that goes along with that, like just how involved would that have to be, and what the board would want ultimately from that. And Dr. Castro?
Yeah, in another district, it sounds similar to something that existed, that bridged a number of different similar programs for migrant education, for Indian education, and for another program. I don't know exactly what the role of this position would be, but because of the fact that it would be overseeing this sort of service, it could very well be funded out of a restricted federal resource. And so because of that, it sounds like it could be something that we possibly could do.
So I'm going to ask the board if this is something that we're interested in asking our Superintendent Trinnell to follow up on. Yes?
Okay,
Yes.
now of course, I haven't seen the job, what the job
No,
description would
it's
be
just,
like,
you
but
just get in direction from us, because, you
Yeah.
know, I'm at a point that I'm polite. I'm a bit tired of performative sort of land acknowledgements without actually doing something.
Yeah.
You know, especially being in this position where we can actually do something,
Yeah.
right? So I'm hearing you year after year that you have a need, you have a need, you have
Yeah.
a need. And I want to make sure that we address that need in a way that is productive, in a way that you'll come back next year and say, okay, this is what we've done with, you know, with the position that we asked here and we prioritize as something for our district to do. So
And this is what those federally restricted resources are intended for, so.
right. So I think we're asking and we're directing the district here to go ahead and start doing something, to work in tandem, to work in partnership with our Indian education partners to ensure this happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've been working, do I go off? So I've been working a long time in this position and my job is called community worker. And I've been talking with every time I got a boss, and then even Ms. Trinnell a few times, and she gave me a couple of roads to go down, but I never did because I'm just too busy. But because really what I do is not a community worker. So I really, what I do is more of a liaison, and then you would have like maybe I don't know. But anyways, really what I do is not a community worker, and I've been trying to get that rectified and fixed or changed for a long time. So this might be a great opportunity for us to just evaluate the whole program and the staffing. And so thank you for that.
Of course, and as the largest, district north of the Golden Gate, we should be leading in this field, not Windsor. So
Right, that's how this is.
thank you. And then I also heard in what Director De La Cruz mentioned, some asks and requests. I did jot them down, but there was one ask also in terms of field trips, right? College field trips. Is there any conversation to work in tandem with 10,000 Degrees to ensure that, because I know they do a lot of those. As a counselor, I get emails from 10,000 Degrees asking for those field trips.
I've spoken with Lisa, the president and CEO of 211 United Way about that. So I'm hoping for the future that connection is made and the buses are, going.
Okay. Anything we can do as a board, as an entity, let us know.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you. That's a good resource, 10,000 Degrees.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They did one for us, yeah.
And well, I skipped this. I just want to say thank you for, increasing and continually identifying students and building a more robust system, because every time I hear this, a presentation, you come up with something new. And I want to make sure that we meet you, not halfway there, we meet you where you want to be. So I just want to say thank you for your report.
Thank you. I did want to add, because I know on my report, I was trying to do it quickly and I wasn't. Anyways, we have, and you guys usually ask, so I thought, oh, they're just going to ask. So we have like 28 graduating students, Native American, 28 of them. And then we have like our eighth graders. I don't know what happened to our eighth graders, but there's hardly any eighth graders this year. So we only have about 14 promoting. And then so at our graduation, we'll probably have about 20 because some of them don't want to come or they're busy. We have about 20, but I just thought that's a good number. That was a good solid number. And I think they were saying that the graduation rate is a little bit lower, but for the students that I serve and I have 506 forms for, I'm not seeing that. So that's where I talk about like the numbers, the data and the numbers not really meshing. But so I feel like it's been a successful year. And so that's, I just wanted to share those numbers with you guys. And if you guys all come on the 31st, you'll get to see all their beautiful faces.
Well, thank you. I would love to be there, but I'm going to be in LA that day,
Yeah.
so I'll be there
Lots
in
of
spirit.
graduations.
Okay,
Yeah.
so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. For those students who are leaving, just so you know, we are going to give you time to speak on item G3 during public comment. So it's not towards the end. So just bear with us for a few more minutes if you want to speak, because I see quite a few of these here that are student speakers. So just bear with you. You won't be speaking at midnight. You'll be speaking in a few minutes, okay? Next, we have our CSBA report. No report. There we go. Public comment on non-agenda items. And we had a request from Trustee Manieri to make sure that we give an allotment or an allowance to our students to speak on a consent item. That consent item wasn't pulled, but in light of the request, we are going to let our students, speakers, talk on item G23, okay? So, first person I have on the list is Logan Glenn, followed by Liam Glenn and Jenna Glenn. I wonder if they're related. You find out if these are students. Sure.
Hello, my name is Logan Glenn, and I'm in third grade in Helen Lehman Elementary School. My favorite part of Boys and Girls Club and is how fun the sports are and how creative people are at our club. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Jenna Glenn, right? That was Logan. Thank you, Logan. Okay. Next, is it Liam? Okay, Liam.
Hello, my name is Liam Glenn, and I am in fifth grade at Helen Lehman Elementary. My favorite part about Boys and Girls Club is that the staff are all really nice, and they always have fun things to do. I had the honor of being Helen Lehman's Youth of the Year for this school year, and I've been very proud to represent my school. Thank you.
Thank you, Liam. And next, I believe we have Jenna Glenn, followed by Marisela Guidino, followed by Erica Limpanovic.
Hello, my name is Jenna Glenn, and my two sons, Liam and Logan, attend the Boys and Girls Club at Helen Lehman. My husband and I are very grateful for the Boys and Girls Club as it has allows us to be able to work our full-time jobs and not have to find alternative after-school care that could cost us thousands of dollars a month. As you may know, most parents work 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and having the security of our children being able to be in the program until 6 p.m. takes a lot of stress off of us working parents. Our kids are able to get their homework done and get the support that they may need, play sports, which is very important to them, and be with their friends and peers in a safe setting. Being able to play with their friends that are not in their class but same grade gives them the opportunities to get to know more kids. When our kids come home saying, "Guess what my staff taught me today," really shows how much the staff at the Lehman Club care about our kids and how influential they are. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenna. The rest are parents or or adults. Do we have any students stacked up that submitted a blue card? Okay, seeing none, we're gonna go with okay, so is it Junie? Would you like to speak on the item on anything? Yeah, you can come over here and let me see. You're speaking on item F1? Okay. So I mean, Yumi, I'm sorry, we're gonna have you speak during item F1, okay? Thank you. All right. Sorry, okay. All right, not right now, thank you. All right, so going back to this, we have Julia. No, we have Marisela Gudino, followed by Erica Lampanovic, and then we have Peter Lebel.
Buenas noches. Mi nombre es Marisela Gudiño. Y el Boys and Girls me ayudó mucho con mi hijo. y así puedo tener un trabajo. Y me siento muy feliz que esté ahí porque él tiene un lugar seguro donde estar después de escuela y le ayudó mucho en su estudio y muchas gracias.
I'm going to translate. My name is Marisela, and I am grateful for the Boys and Girls Club. They have helped me keep my job, work longer, and it's a safe place for my son to stay after school, and it has helped him academically. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias, señora Gudiño. Next, we have Erika Lamponovich, followed by Peter Lavelle, followed by Katie Elzy.
Thank you, Erica Lapanovich. I know it's a hard one, so thank you. My daughter is in kindergarten at Hidden Valley Elementary School, and I could not be happier with the care that she's receiving through the Boys and Girls Club. The most telling example of how much she loves it is when I pick her up and she tells me, "No, Mommy, I don't want to go home. Can I keep playing a little longer?" She's constantly being challenged when I pick her up. She's often doing flashcards with the engaged staff members, practicing her reading and writing, and I cannot tell you how proud she was when she came home and told me she was Youth of the Month in academics in kindergarten. That's really just the staff just highlights the students that much. She not only learns about academics, but she also learns about mindfulness, meditation, and the importance of her emotions. The Boys and Girls Club has been leading the way in nutrition education by inviting Santa Rosa City Schools Food Service Director Ed Burke into our program to teach nutrition classes, do taste tests, and I cannot tell you how impressed I was because I don't think I've ever seen the kids so excited to try broccoli and kale, which we did today. Kale chips are amazing. This is all, unfortunately, in stark contrast to the other school care she was previously in at Hidden Valley Elementary School. When I used to pick up my daughter from school, she would be watching television or a movie. And one time over the summer, I dropped her off at 8:30 in the morning so that I could go to work, only to see that a group of children as young as 5 years old were watching a PG-13 rated movie, Avatar. I showed up as the aliens were shooting each other, which terrified my daughter. I would love to report that the conversation I had with the Santa Rosa City Schools Director of Child Care Supervisor went well when I voiced my concerns, but rather I would focus on the positive. So in closing, I strongly advocate whenever possible that the district do whatever it can to support the creation of new Boys and Girls Clubs in as many schools as possible and consider replacing any other after-school programs with Boys and Girls Clubs when possible. Thank you.
Thank you. And just for a clarification, okay, so we're going to allow the speakers to talk on this item, but the item G23 was not pulled, and that's the Boys and Girls Club, item. But in light that it was, an oversight, we're going to let you speak on this item, okay? Just so you know, okay? Next, we have Peter Lavelle, followed by Katie Elsie, followed by Manny Morales.
Hi, my name is Peter Lavelle. I'll be speaking to the consent agenda item regarding the Boys and Girls Club. Thank you for your support of this program. I just heard it was not moved. It's no secret that living in Sonoma County is expensive, especially for those of us who didn't inherit property and don't have the benefit of generational wealth. As parents, sometimes it's easy to feel overwhelmed, like we're being punished financially for having kids. We are often so exhausted and returning home late that even if we had the mental capacity to work with our children, everyone is just intellectually and emotionally drained. During the pandemic, I took time off from work to help homeschool my kids, financially setting me back years. Our daughter still has challenges adapting to school after spending kindergarten in Zoom. By providing structure and support during a narrow window of time after school, the Boys and Girls Club helps to close the gap academically between her and her peers. They help her with her homework, encourage her artistically, and provide the structure she needs to succeed. She is more confident, and the little time I do spend with her is quality time in which I can learn more about her as a person. Furthermore, the financial cushion helps struggling parents to be contributing members of society, enrolling kids in sports, supporting local businesses, in buying homes and populating those homes with families rather than homes getting snatched up by investment groups and turned into vacation properties. This program does not solve all of our problems, but it is an important support system for those of us with children that are struggling, and I believe that it will repay itself in the community in more ways than one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lavelle. Next, we have Katie Elzy, followed by Manny Morales, followed by Michelle Heary.
Hello, everyone. It's hard to follow parents because I think they speak truthfully and the best about Boys and Girls Club, but I am Katie Elzy. I'm a program director at Boys and Girls Club, and I've had the privilege and the joy of being in the Santa Rosa City School District for the past 4 years. During my time here at SRCS, I've had an incredible opportunity to connect with countless students and families truly becoming a part of the SRCS community. As the director of Steel Lane Elementary School, collaborating with both the school and the community has been the highlight of my role. Being part of this district means serving some of the families who truly need us all the most. I've worked closely with the school to ensure that kids in foster care, those with special needs, and children residing in the local shelter have top priority when it comes to attending our club. Our mission in Boys and Girls Clubs is simple: to provide a safe, enriching, and fun environment to every child, regardless of their circumstance. Our motto, "Yes, we can," is what has fueled my dedication in this organization for over 12 years. Thank you all for your support of the club and, most importantly, supporting Sonoma County kids.
Thank you, Katie. We had an addition of a late addition of a student here, Andrea Zamora. We'll have Andrea Zamora go first, followed by Manny Morales, followed by Michelle Heary.
Hi, I'm Andrea Zamora. I am a senior at Santa Rosa High, and I just want to express my gratitude to Boys and Girls Club because I also went to Boys and Girls Club, and now my sister goes there, and it just allows her to grow so much. And she plays, she learns, and the staff are also amazing. But I also want to, this is like off topic, but I also want to express my gratitude to Ever Flores during the Adelante program. You helped us so much and you allowed me to grow too. Thank you.
Wow, well, thank you, señorita Zamora. Next, we have Manny Morales, followed by Michelle Heary, followed by Alicia Marquez.
All right. Good evening, Santa Rosa City Schools trustees and Superintendent Trinell. My name is Manny Morales, and I'm speaking as a parent of 3 kids in Santa Rosa City Schools tonight. I'm here tonight to speak in favor of the expansion of Boys and Girls Club programs in our school district. As a former restorative specialist with SRCS and a current parent of 3 kids that are benefiting from the programs and services provided by Boys and Girls Club on their school campus, I would like to express the importance of having safe spaces to be after school where supervision activities and their wellness are prioritized. When the community and students speak on the importance of school safety and belonging, it is services and programs like these that we refer to as vital to meeting our kids' needs. As well as spaces where we acknowledge and embrace culture, address our students' mental, physical, and emotional needs, and provide culturally conscious curriculum for a better educational experience. Boys and Girls Club, at the very least, provides a place for kids to be after school, but it also provides supervision and engagement for our students and helps families meet their needs when they work or have housing and food insecurities to alleviate some of their basic needs. So thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Manny. Next, we have Michelle Heary, followed by Alicia Marquez, followed by Mary Lehman.
Nice
to see y'all. First, I just want to say how much I appreciate your commitment to public service and staying at these late meetings week after week. It's incredibly impressive. My name is Michelle Edwards-Heary. I've worked with Boys and Girls Clubs of Sonoma Marin for 13 years. I grew up in an inner city neighborhood in Nashville, Tennessee. I had a lot of love from my parents, but we didn't have a lot else. And we relied on the support from food banks and community programs and partners like Boys and Girls Clubs. I went to a low-performing Title I elementary school in my neighborhood that didn't have a lot of offerings to students, but a few passionate educators helped expose me to learning opportunities outside of the classroom. And because of that, I got the chance to go to the best public schools in my state. There, I started work that ultimately earned me a full scholarship to college. When I started at Boys and Girls Clubs, we have been delighted to be your expanded learning partner for the past 12 years. I was on a team that opened our first clubs at Lincoln Elementary School and Comstock Middle School, and I stood with 100 Lincoln students on a blacktop when a long ago provider didn't fulfill their contract. And we were playing games and we had a great time. I've talked with hundreds of your families over the years talking about how long our wait lists are and that our clubs were full. However, that's all changed, and I'm here tonight to say thank you. Because of you and your team, we've eliminated all of those wait lists, and we are providing life-changing opportunities to thousands of your students every single day. We love being a part of their stories, and you've heard so many of them here tonight. We're always growing and learning from your team and from your district and your families, and we want to bring the best possible programs we can to your kids to meet their needs and the needs of their families. And personally, I want to thank Trustee De La Cruz in a conversation that we had for the idea of bringing monolingual Spanish speakers to our team.
Thank you, Michelle.
Oh, sure.
Thanks, your time is up.
Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you, Michelle. Next, we have Alicia Marquez, followed by Mayor Lehman, followed by Sheila Walker.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alicia Marquez, and I wanted to speak briefly on the matter of Santa Rosa High School's closed campus. I'm now a senior at Santa Rosa High, and since I've been a freshman, it's been continuously conveyed that we have a closed campus and people can't leave during break or lunch. But every day, a multitude of students leave anyway. I think that it would be more beneficial to have an open campus with admin that keeps an eye out for students as they leave campus rather than being unaware of their status. I understand that it's a safety concern to let students off school campus unattended, but it happens regardless of rules and will continue to happen. Even if an admin just noted the number of students leaving and those that already surveyed lunch or surveyed around campus parameters instead, students could be safer since they would be accounted for and much happier. In terms of punishments, it's not logical to punish hundreds of students for leaving campus, which is why I assume it's not much of a problem. But this way, students wouldn't need to be punished regardless. I think if an open campus were offered with safety regulations around making sure you have been seen and accounted for by an admin, students could safely enjoy their lunch across the street. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Alicia. Next, we have Mayor Lehman, followed by Sheila Walker.
Hello, this is a public comment. I am not representing CSEA. Educating our students for the future is all about integrating technology into the classrooms. SRCS is finally doing that. With some 13,000 students using Chromebooks in a one-to-one program, some 1,600 teachers and staff using laptops, Chromebooks, and iPads, and some 750 classrooms in 24 schools equipped with interactive flat panels on carts with Apple TVs and portable voice amplification systems. Remember the Ghostbusters movie? Quip, who are you gonna call? Well, we have those thousands of students, teachers, staff that relied on this year to teach them how to use this equipment and troubleshoot problems on a daily basis and get the software approved for these devices. Who was that? Who are you going to call? Our tech buster, Linda Castanes. She is a district technology TOSA. We need to keep that position if we're going to run our technology programs efficiently next year. and at cost savings. The TOSAs are gone, but let's embrace Linda as the district-wide technology teacher for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, President Mayor Lehman, speaking as an individual. Next, we have Sheila Walker.
I think perhaps Sheila Walker has left. Is that correct? Okay, thank you.
And that brings the end of those comments. And once again, my apologies, that's highly irregular. You know, the item wasn't pulled, so I didn't have those public comments stacked for that item. So moving on to F1, resolution reaffirming support. Moving on to F1, resolution reaffirming support for our LGBTQIA+ community. The board will consider the approval of resolution number 2023/24-79, reaffirming support for our LGBTQIA students, staff, and community members. Presenting this item is Superintendent Anna Trinnell. Superintendent Trinnell, thank you. And I just want to say that it was a great honor, you know, drafting this resolution last year, and I am in such, you know, awe that we have something as robust as this here in the North Bay.
Thank you so much, Vice President. Thank you to the board, and for those who are still with us, I'm honored to bring forward this resolution tonight. Some things that I want to share, because I know this board is interested in knowing not only how, just the fact that we are honoring this through this resolution, but the actual work that we do in our district. And so first, I just want to call out the number of resources that we have linked on this particular agenda item, and a little bit of history on how we as a community in this state voted to ensure that Senate Bill 48 was successful, which included ensuring that our curriculum and our instruction is inclusive of a variety of groups who have been historically not seen in our curriculum, which also includes the history of and contributions of those in the LGBTQIA community. So I asked our sites, what do we do? What do they do? Because all of our curriculum was adopted since this Senate Bill 48 went into effect, which required that our materials were inclusive of all of the additional groups, including contributions from LGBTQIA+. So our history, social studies materials have inclusivity there. Our English language arts curriculum, our ethnic studies curriculum is inclusive. In addition to that, our school sites have ways to support our students through a variety of clubs that are overseen there to provide space for students to feel seen and to be a part of a community. Some of our school sites integrate lessons through English language arts and social studies throughout the year. This is also a part of our collaborative curriculum that we have adopted in the district. We have sites who host small group sessions with our counselors and special, our social emotional learning curriculum to support our students. During the month of June, we also celebrate Pride Month, and we do that symbolically as well in our district by the Pride flag at all of our schools. Outside of June, all of our schools have a space on campus where the Pride flag is also shown to demonstrate that we have safe schools that are inclusive. There are a variety of assemblies that our schools do so that they can also make sure that our students are seen and represented and that they have a voice and a part of the school community. There are a variety of things that our schools are doing. We have it incorporated into our curriculum per SB 48. And there are a variety of resources that we tap into to support our students that are very local in our community, such as Voices, such as the LGBTQ Connection resource. Even our Sonoma County Library has a variety of resources and groups to support our community. Verity is one of our partners as well. So with that, board, I ask that you consider the approval of resolution number 2023-24-79, reaffirming support for LGBTQIA+ students, staff, and community in Santa Rosa City Schools and in our community in general. Thank you.
Thank you. Superintendent Trunell, this is an action item. We'll start with any board questions. Do we have any board questions? Yes, Trustee McNally.
So I'm really happy to see this resolution. One thing I'm thinking about is how important it is in preventing homophobia and transphobia. Transphobia is normalizing the gender and sexuality spectrum from an early age. And that requires that our staff be comfortable. So I'm just curious, do we have any training for our staff, especially our elementary staff?
I think honestly, that's an area that we need to continue to work on and grow. I think there is work happening at our individual schools, but I think it's something that we need to organize to be sure that everyone is receiving that experience and that training so that everyone's prepared to support all students.
Any other questions? Yes, go ahead, Trustee De La Cruz.
I am usually the negative Nelly about these resolutions because they can be performative and lack action. And I just want to say that this one is like so amazing. It deserves all kinds of rainbow stars because it's so meaty and real. And right to Trustee McNally's point, you know, what are the additional resources that you need this board to unlock or additional direction to ensure that all of our sites and all of our staff, you know, are leaning in with us to this beautiful clarity and the expectations of making all of our schools safe for all kids.
Thank you for both of those questions. So I actually have started reaching out to some of our local partners, much like we just recently provided training around Title VI to all of our administrators. It's also important that we begin the process of normalizing the word, that we have this as a part of our regular training for our staff. So that we're just beginning the process to have those discussions.
And then one more question with a shout out to our lovely community that's asking this question as well, right? Is there anything that prohibits us from flying the pride flag year round? Right, and making these celebrations of our community's diverse culture something that is not just tied to any month in particular, but that it recognizes that every single day of the year, people are who they are, and we should celebrate that.
There is nothing that prohibits us. We would just need to review our policy and see if you would like to memorialize it there.
I like to memorialize it. That was one of my asks. Thank you, Trustee De La Cruz. I'm sorry. Any other board members? Questions? Go ahead.
So I just want to lift up how important this resolution is and the harsh reality that there are so many districts, not only in the state of California, but in this very same community of Santa Rosa that are not there yet. So as being the largest school district in the North Bay, it is incumbent upon us to lead by example and to lift up all of our students, all of our staff, all of our teachers for who they are. I have family that lives in this community and they're not supported in their workplace appropriately in this city, 2024. So it is important for us as such a large employer and to be true trailblazing educators on why this communication is important and that it's not just words that fall on a piece of paper, but it is something that we put into effect to lead by example and lift up all of our communities and what they truly need to feel seen.
Thank you. And so just so you know, SB 48, it also includes, you know, people with disabilities and other folks. The idea is to uplift people who have been historically marginalized in our textbooks, right? So personally, I would like to see, there is a point here that the district, the curriculum materials and resources shall be reviewed and updated to include accurate and inclusive information about our LGBTQIA plus history, contributions, and experiences. Such materials should be age appropriate and integrated into the existing curriculum across grade levels and subjects. So that's the key, across all subject levels, right? It's not necessarily just a, social science, curriculum. It is a curriculum that should be integrated throughout our K-12 curriculum. And I would love to see, how we're doing that. So I am asking, our superintendent and our staff to give us, an update in the future in terms of what are we doing to ensure that we follow fidelity in terms of SB 48. And that's it. I'm going to go on to public comments. And it looks like right now I have one public comment from one of our students, Junuen Estrada. Okay.
Estrada. I am a senior at Santa Rosa High School. I'm very glad that we're showing our support to the students, staff, and other members of the LGBTQIA plus community. Many students and adults alike struggle with living as part of the community because they encounter a lot of discrimination and bullying from those outside and from those within their families every single day. I myself have friends and classmates who are part of the LGBTQIA plus community, and they deserve the support too. They have struggled to be recognized, and this support lets them be recognized even more. I want nothing but the best for the LGBTQIA plus community. Thank you.
Thank you, Yunuen. This comes back to the board for additional questions or comments or a motion.
Move to approve the resolution.
Second.
Moved by Trustee McNally, second by Trustee De La Cruz. Roll call.
Student Board Member Rao. Aye. Trustee McNally.
Aye.
Trustee De La Cruz.
Aye.
Trustee Sheffield.
Pride flags year round, aye.
Trustee De La Torre.
Aye.
Trustee Manieri.
Aye.
Vice President Flores.
Year round, yay. Thank you. Moving on to item F2, an action item, accept the measure ILC and Citizens Oversight Committee annual reports and audit reports. The board will consider acceptance of measures I, L, C, and G annual and audit reports. Presenting these items are Lisa August, our Associate Superintendent, and Janine Bruman from the Citizens Oversight Committee Chair. Is she online?
I am here. So I'm at home sick.
Melanie, can you promote me so I can share? Thank you. Sorry. Thank you. Yes, unfortunately, Jenny Bruneman, our committee chair, is under the weather. She had planned to join us in person tonight, but we really appreciate her being online. I will go ahead and share my screen and take us through the attachments for the reports, and Jenny can definitely chime in when she likes. She's asked me to go ahead and give the report for her, though. Just a moment. Okay. So we will start with INL, our older set of bonds that we are just finishing up. The board did adopt rules combining the I, L, C, and G committees last year when we did create the C and G committee. So you will see two reports attached as well as audits for all 4 measures. And we'll go ahead and get started. Sorry. Okay, our membership is the same across all. So Jenny Bruneman is our chair for each of these measures. And we've had some changes in our membership. Frank Pugh was part of the committee last year. He has since resigned. He served for many years. And here is our current committee. We did end up with a couple of new members last year, and we have some current applications as well. Here it just talks about what was actually included. So in 2014, the measures were approved by the voters, which is very much appreciated. And for the INL measures, it was really the warm, safe, and dry campaign. There really was a lot of infrastructure there. So there weren't a lot of fancy things that were rolled out that people saw, but it really made a difference in the educational quality and student safety by upgrading the classrooms, deteriorating plumbing, heating, ventilation, things of that nature.
I'm sorry. Going back to, sorry for the interruption. Our attachment doesn't have Frank Pugh on it.
On the INL?
Yeah, so, well, it's there, but I don't see it on the attachment, just so you know, okay? But you're saying he's no longer there?
Yeah,
I see it there, but
Okay.
on the attachment that we received, I don't see his name on it. So
Oh,
just
that's- okay.
FYI, and I don't want,
Thank you. I
All right.
appreciate
No
that
problem.
on there. Okay, yes, he has resigned in the current year. He still comes to the meetings, which is much appreciated. We love public participation. Okay. And again, just what measures INL focused on. So we did do a lot with the shift in technology needs over the course of COVID. And essentially, the main thing that people may not understand is that our Citizens Oversight Committee, it is required with Prop 39 bonds. So if they were passed with a 55% majority versus the 2/3 majority, we are required to have a Citizens Oversight Committee that reviews all expenditures to confirm that they were in alignment with what the voters passed. And that committee stays in place until the end of the bond funds, until they're spent out. So INL will likely be finished in the next few months. And we will only be focusing on C&G. So you'll probably receive one more annual report for INL. There are specific members for the committees called out in law, which are business organization, somebody active in the senior citizens organization, bona fide taxpayers organization, member active in a PTA or other parent organization, as well as a member who is a parent or guardian of a child enrolled in the district. We also have community members at large. It is difficult to fill oversight committee positions, not just here, but across the state. And no employees or officials of the district can be appointed. We also cannot compensate anybody who serves on the committee. And again, just a highlight of their roles and responsibilities, it is really to make sure that we are spending in accordance with the law, what we passed, what we brought in front of the voters. Also to provide an annual report to the board and to accept and certify, review our audit for the bond measures. There are other roles that they can provide, which is to visit sites and look at some of the projects and really be kind of eyes and ears. But that's not in their official capacity. It's more of an informal capacity. And we do have those discussions during the meetings. The facilities master plan for the INL, the bond measures was adopted in 2016. And as you're aware, there were over 90 community meetings at that time. And we did, I believe it was more than that at the time. We did update that 2016 plan this last year. In the 2023 year, we began holding meetings with about 90 community meetings in about 8 months. And of course, for the Board of Education, you actually provide the guidelines for the COC. You approve the bond program project list. You appoint the members and have essentially a final authority over all of the bond funds based on the recommendations within the bond language and within parameters of the bond language. This is the important piece of this annual report as far as compliance, and that is that the committee advises that to the best of its knowledge that we have adhered to the requirements and that we have only expended items as aligned with law. And that the one caveat in there, and it's not a caveat necessarily, but an explanation, is that it does speak about classified employees not being paid, and that is specific to just like our instructional aides and things like that. For staff who actually work directly with the bond, that is appropriate. We cannot pay any certificated employees from bond funds. So even if they're participating in making selections and things like that, it cannot be paid for from bond funds. Okay. And this is just an overview of the meetings that we held last year because this is the 22-23 annual report. And a list, just a financial summary. This was attached, so I'm not going to obviously go through that, all the tiny print there. But you can see all the zeros. We are getting down to the end of the bond funds. They are not completely expended, although they are completely encumbered. And what that means is that we've had projects that we actually expect that they are coming in under budget. So some of those funds will be released and we'll be able to finish up a few things over the next few months. And so just a grand total of what's been spent there during that time for I, and then the same information for L. And again, lots of zeros. One thing to point out is that we did have one finding for both the I and the L bonds, and that is because we did have the same committee members who served more than the terms allowed. We did reach out to our audit firm about this before allowing people to continue in those roles. And the response from our audit firm was that it was better to have committee members, even if they had exceeded their term limits, than to not have, not meet all of those. So we did have that. We will see that again in the next audit. However, that is not going to be the case for C and G because technically that is a new committee. So they will have the new term limits will apply. There were no fiscal findings in any of our audits, and that was something that the committee wanted to be very clear on and asked us to make sure that we rewrote the way that this read to make sure and indicate that there are no fiscal findings in any of our bond audits. Okay. And then one other note that they asked us to make sure to bring special attention to, which is the cash reported in the county treasury. It looks as if there's a reduction. That's actually not a real dollar amount. That's a new requirement under the Government Accounting Standards Board guidance that we have to reflect if we pulled all of our cash out today, what would, or at the time of the, the point in time that they look at, what would those funds be worth? Because since we participate in the county treasury investment pool, and we don't have a choice in that. That's where our funds are required to be held. And one thing is that the committee did want to express their appreciation to the team for expending bond dollars according to the ballot language requirements, resulting in no fiscal audit findings. Okay, and yes, we are continuing to try to recruit on a regular basis to fill those roles. And then they wanted to make sure that we had some photos representative of some projects that were going on this last year. And I just have to share that this here is the boys' restroom at Ridgeway. They decided to decorate, to you know, do some, to bring some creativity and some cheer into the restroom. They were very excited about the new facilities. And thank you. Go ahead and switch over to CNG. It's a much shorter report, and there are a lot of renderings in here because at the time, since this is for 22-23, we hadn't begun spending money really yet. And so obviously we're looking, one of the big things in this bond would be to modernize classrooms. So do some upgrades. And yes, Mr. Pugh is not on this committee because of the resignation. Aside from that, the members are the same. And this just shares the time frame as far as the passage and the dollar
Can I
amount.
ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
Was Mr. Frank Pugh on the committee while he was on the board?
I will have to look back at that. Our committee.
He was not.
He was not. Okay, thank
No,
you.
he was not.
Thank you, Jenny. And, oh, I'm sorry, when he was on the, I thought you were talking about, I thought you were about this. Oh, no, he was
On this
not.
board, yes, thank you.
No, that would not have been allowed under law. Okay, and then measure C and G, very similar, very broadly written so that we can address the needs of schools as determined through our facilities master plan and our community input. And again, most of this is a duplication, so I'm going to go ahead and scroll through it unless you would like me to cover anything in more detail. We did hold on projects until after the facilities master plan was updated. And again, the different roles. And the same compliance opinion for C and G as was provided for I and L. We hold our meetings together, so you'll see the same schedule there. And you'll see lots of zeros on our expenditures for that one because we really didn't start spending yet aside from just operational costs, a few things there. And you will see, oh, the same thing as far as audit. No, we didn't have the same audit finding because of the new committee. So 0 findings for C and G. And then again, renderings of some possible layouts for some classrooms. Jenny, did you have anything to add?
No, not really. I think you covered it in the report. Just here representing the COC committee and really appreciate the efforts of staff to improve the campuses around the district. As the former employee, it's nice to see things finally get done. I used to work at Montgomery High School, so I was excited watching buildings I put in get torn down. So I'm really happy to be a part of this committee as a community member, as a fellow champion of facilities. And I thank you guys for allowing me to be here tonight. And I apologize for not being there in person. I just figured you didn't want another sick person in the room.
Thank you, and I'll hand it back over to the board. Thank you, Vice President Flores, members of the board, Superintendent Trinnell, and our community.
Thank you, Associate Superintendent August. This is an action item, so are there any board questions? I have a couple. I have one. Okay. Under site improvements, right? They're not delineated as to exactly what they are. So is there any sort of mechanism in place to ensure that what happened at Maria Carrillo doesn't happen again? That priority goes to items that are very dire, right? just to ensure that that's a priority. I know we see these and we get a lot of these, right? So, and that's part of the committee's, overview, but it will be, I would like to have a mechanism in place to vet, projects like that before they come to the board for approval. So we don't have something that happened earlier this year happen.
Thank you. And so I would love to address your question. Thank you, Vice President Flores. Two things to clarify. The committee oversight is just that it falls in line with what was on the bond language after the fact. However, we have created a facilities advisory committee this year. And so we've actually been advertising pretty heavily for that and really going out and looking for more advice, input on priority projects, also looking at the way that things are worded to make sure that it's clear what's actually being addressed and why. One of the things that happens is that when we have a safety issue and there's something else that also needs to be taken care of on campus that maybe is not a safety issue, but it would save us money to combine a project, that's what happened at Maria Carrillo. However, it was not communicated very clearly in our information. And so that's something that we're really working on, is how we can provide more transparency and clarity in our process and how we're presenting the information. So I really appreciate that feedback and the direction. Thank you. Also, we will be bringing back, an implementation plan update that is planned for, I believe, the end of June, where you'll have a little more information on those projects that we see on the horizon.
Thank you.
Just a quick, would that include, more information about the facilities advisory committee? Okay, thank you.
Yes, we will certainly include some information about their work.
Okay. Any other board questions? Okay, this is, see, an action item. So any public comments? I don't see any blue cards. Do we have any more blue cards?
No.
No? Okay, coming back to the board for more discussion or a motion.
I move to accept the measures I, L, C, and G Citizens Oversight Committee annual reports and audit reports.
Second.
Motion moved by trustee Sheffield, seconded by trustee De La Cruz. Roll call vote, please.
Student Board Member Rao.
Aye.
Trustee Sheffield.
Aye.
Trustee De La Cruz.
Aye.
Trustee McNally.
Aye.
Trustee De La Torre.
Aye.
Trustee Manieri.
Aye.
Vice President Flores.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is F3. This is a discussion/action item on our partial tax next steps. The board will receive information regarding a review of the partial tax process and timeline and potentially give directions as to what to do next. Presenting this item, we have Superintendent Trinnell, Lisa August, and Charles Heath from Team Civics.
Thank you, Vice President Flores, members of the board, those who are with us in person online. And I know that hi Charles, he's with us online. Thank you for being here this evening with us. Board, there was a request to bring this item back between the meeting on May 8th and today. There were two action steps that were to be taken. One, that the board would meet with individual constituents within your areas to get a sense of how people are feeling about the potential of a parcel tax. And two, the committee that had been formed around the parcel tax, we were to discuss how we see things moving forward. And so we're prepared to share some information about what the committee discussed, but I will yield to the board on what you learned from your communities.
Okay, so we'll start with our board members if they want to report back as to what they heard from each of our districts. I see trustee De La Torre.
I just heard a variety of information from my district that they really don't feel like we're in a position to be ready to ask for something like this and expect approval.
Thank you, Trustee De La Torre. Anybody else? Trustee De La Cruz.
I think it's so telling that actually I've heard the exact opposite, is that there's lots of folks in our community who support our district right now and who have a hard time coming out in public given the controversial nature of public comment. And so, I think it's really hard for us to weigh with some honesty, like what the actual real feelings in our community are around our district and particularly the leadership of this board. But I do want to just kind of lift up those voices that say that they are supportive of what it is that we do and recognize the need for additional resources to achieve the kinds of outcomes that we have articulated, and that our community has for sure articulated around safety, around increasing the numbers of skilled adults on our campuses, continuing to do the important work of keeping our schools clean, safe, and dry. So, I think it's really unfortunate that we have such a wide range of public feelings right now, but I do just think that I want to lift up that there are many people in our community who continue to be supportive of our schools and recognize the need for us to continue to secure revenue.
Thank you, Trustee De La Cruz. Any other board members? Trustee Sheffield.
Just want to add, and even before our last meeting, trying to gauge sentiment from folks in the community on this. And I think you're right, Trustee De La Cruz, there are folks who haven't come forward. There are folks that I've talked to who haven't come forward, but they also express skepticism that it would pass without a huge effort behind it to oppose a negative campaign, those working against it, actively working against it. That's something that we haven't faced. We might face people who object to, anything that we take to the public, but we haven't come across folks who have actively worked against us. So that's something that I think we should consider. And maybe, Charles, with your expertise, how might we go about engaging in that type of campaign?
Yeah, parcel tax elections are really tough, right? They require a 2/3 vote. You would be establishing your initial parcel tax because you don't currently have one. Which is always the hardest election you'll have. Renewals thereafter become easier. So I really think without sort of full consensus, full support, kind of full buy-in from kind of the school community, to me, that feels like a really tough experience. And probably trying to build that broad consensus and some enthusiasm around the proposal before going to the ballot would be a wiser choice.
Thank you. Any other board members? Okay, so I like to say that, yes, I did hear from a few folks. It's a very, well, actually, people in my district are pretty progressive. So for the most part, they were okay with, a partial tax. Now, the issue that I personally have is, we haven't done a good job at explaining what a progressive versus a recessive sort of taxation, partial tax is. And my advice or my thoughts are that, for any sort of tax or any sort of partial tax or bond measures, I think it's important to start, not necessarily the campaign, but, start the conversations way ahead of time to ensure that we have our partners in place, like a year ahead, not, 3, 4, 6 months before the actual election. And this involving our shared strengths, right? We have people here on our school board that have a very close relationship with our business community. We have others that have a very close relationship with our labor communities. We have other folks that have close relationship with our NGOs. So it's important to start thinking that way, progressively. I mean, more proactively, instead of reacting to a poll, right? And then, but having this, going out with intentionality ahead of time. So we have, our folks in place. So we know who's supporting us. We know who won't support us. And by the time that the board discusses a progressive versus a recessive sort of, tax initiative, we have an understanding as to how our constituents are feeling. So, and I don't think we did a good job at ensuring that sort of information was laid out ahead of time with a plan of action. So, I have mixed feelings about this because I would like to support something like this. I don't necessarily think we've done the work necessary to ensure that a progressive, sort of tax is approved. And I don't necessarily want to spend district funds for something that may not pass based on the information that we received last year. So that's my 2 cents. This goes out to public comments. Do we have any blue cards for this line item?
Vice President Flores, there's no blue cards.
Okay, sure. Oh, yes, that's right. I forgot. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Thank you for the feedback, trustees. I think, from the committee perspective, which right now is a small committee, but does have representation from our labor groups. There are some parent representatives and of course our district representatives and Charles and his team. We began the process of thinking about the possibilities and how we were going to build that team. Totally understand the timeline that you're thinking about, Trustee Flores. And the consensus at our last meeting was that the committee does not have an interest in continuing to meet. They feel overall that there is not a united thrust in our community to support a parcel tax, and are very concerned about putting in the hours and effort, which is done uncompensated and on personal time, including weekends, to gather donations from outside organizations. We know the work that has to be put in. We did it in 3 months last time, which was a whirlwind, right? So to be able to invest that time and meet with individuals to gather the funds for a campaign, to potentially have it on shaky ground to begin with, they did not feel confident. I do understand, I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but I believe I can just simply share that the teachers union did do some of their own surveying, and over 50% of the membership said that they would not only be not in favor of a parcel tax, but they would actually campaign against it. Did I mix words? Okay. So with that, the committee recommends that we take a pause, that we perhaps wait until after some things have settled. I think that's part of the unrest right now, and change is happening potentially with the superintendent position and also some of the board seats. People want to regain the trust in the district as well. And perhaps after November, we would have a better appetite for seeing what the lay of the land is. I think there is a wholehearted understanding that we need funding. And I think that is true for all of our communities. So we give it back to the board tonight is either you decide that we do nothing for now, or that you actually vote to direct us to continue on with the work.
Okay, thank you. Having no blue cards, this comes back to the board. Remember, this is either a action or discussion item. So we can have more comments or a motion. Personally, I like to, I don't want to put people on the spot, but I like to hear from everyone on the board to see how we're feeling, before we take a motion in terms of support, no support, right? So, I value everyone's input on this. So if that's okay.
I can share that I did not hear from folks in my district, and I think that that is also really telling. I have received emails and some communication from folks in the broader area, not just, outside of Trustee Area 6. and it's not looking like there is a lot of support. And so I'm following the conversation and kind of leaning toward, you know, what it sounds like we're leaning toward. And also want to lift up that there are definitely folks who want to support. But there's a window of opportunity for everything, and I don't know that we're really seeing a window of opportunity here for this parcel tax.
Thank you, Trustee Manier.
I don't want to waste our funds or our community's time, which is important for an initiative that might not succeed.
And I think we've heard from Trustee De La Cruz, Sheffield, and Trustee De La Torre.
Just personally, I'm in a position of also thinking this is something that we need to put a pause on, because a lot of time and resources have gone into looking into this, if this is the right fit, and our survey showed we weren't there yet. So if we weren't there yet and we're already on rocky ground, we really do need some stabilization before this moves forward. And when we're communicating the parcel tax and we're being progressive about it, that new parcel tax is going to be requesting funds for things to come and programs to come and programs to sustain. It's not money to bridge gaps that we're currently dealing with. So we really have to be communicative about that and make sure that people understand the true meaning of a parcel tax and the longevity of it and what that looks like for our educators' future. So I love the idea of getting ahead of it, communicating more from here forward, and possibly there are still timelines at the end of next winter and spring that if we put some on the ballot, we could still regain the funding in the same time frame. I just right now doesn't feel right.
Okay, I'm hearing from all the board members. You know, I want to remind our board members that one of our MVPs is sustainable funding, and this, Student Trustee Audrey, would you like to say something?
I mean, students, most of them don't pay taxes, but I will say I think if it doesn't seem like there's that much support for it right now, so I don't think that it's the time, but looking towards the future, if there is a way to get more funding, I think that's always in the students' favor because we deserve schools that can fully support everybody, that are always well staffed, that, you know, are also supporting like the teachers and the staff and giving them valid salaries. And so I think more funding is always better. I just don't think that it's going to happen right now.
Thank you, my apologies. So I just want to say that one of our MVPs is thinking about sustainable funding, right? So this is a priority. When we first started talking about this, there was a lot of movement, a lot of positive energy behind it, right? So I don't want us to forget that this is a priority of the board. I think it's important for us to ensure that this is taken on, you know, as a new, you know, board is seated after November. So if we can put it in our notes that this is something that we need to start like in December with you know, with the new, you know, school boards and the new superintendent who will be here, because I believe this is something that we should pursue in the near future. So do I hear a motion in here, or would you like to postpone this? If I don't have a motion, you know, I can create a motion. You know, I move that we table this discussion after December.
Okay, I will make that motion. Sad, you know, but I think it's the reality. We've all kind of come to agree on that. So, but I do think it's important to keep this discussion alive, maybe revisit it as a discussion item as you posed maybe sometime in the fall. Put it on the back burner, start campaigning early. And and try to stay in tune with the mood of the school community. So I will make that motion.
So I second that motion with the caveat that we table this discussion in December, but we progressively talk about this within our communities from here forward. We don't wait till December to start talking about this
Right.
and stirring the pot and having this conversation, because we do need to create more revenue. We do need to have these conversations. We do need to be a part of our communities, which what our actors are. So table this discussion in December, but let's start pounding the pavement and work with our communities and bring some better light to our district so they can get the support it needs when we do put this to ballot.
Okay, since I made the motion, I'll declare that
You can't make the
a friendly, I did not make the motion. You made the motion. Okay, so do you consider that a friendly amendment?
Yes.
Thank you. So do we have that in our minutes?
I took notes and I will also rewatch the video and make sure it's in the minutes.
Great, thank you. Okay, that's a motion. So for an action item, that's a roll call vote.
Student Board Member Rao.
Aye.
Trustee Sheffield.
Aye.
Trustee De La Torre.
Aye.
Trustee De La Cruz.
Aye.
Trustee McNally.
Aye.
Trustee Manieri.
Aye.
Vice President Flores.
Aye.
I just want to thank Charles Heath and his team for always being there for us, willing to support us, think through the corners and angles on this in a through way. So thank you for your partnership.
My
Charles,
pleasure.
hope to see you back, Charles, before December.
Ready when you are.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks all.
Thank you, Charles. Moving on to item F5. This is an action item, approval for provisional internship permit application. F4, sorry. Oh, my gosh. This is a big one. How did I skip this one? Reading slip here. Okay, action F4, 2023-24 third interim financial report and information on the governor's May revision to the 2024-25 proposal state budget. Presenting these items are Lisa August, our Associate Superintendent, and Joel Dantes, Executive Director of Fiscal Services.
Thank you, Vice President Flores, Superintendent Trinnell, members of the board, and our Santa Rosa City Schools community. Oops, no, I don't want to share that. I want to share the slideshow. Sorry about that. And I know what it is. You just wanted to skip this item altogether since, we weren't going through with the parcel tax to make this look any better. As you know, we have the required third interim budget report, and we also combined that with our update for the May revise. We figured they went hand in hand and it would be best discussed together. So we'll talk about the governor's May revision first and then move into our third interim report. Just a reminder, this is where we are right now, both of these items here. We will be coming back in a couple of weeks with our LCAP and budget hearings and then the adoption after that. It was very interesting the way that the May revise came out this time. The governor came out on a Friday and gave a teleconference with really very little information. We were left with more questions than we were answers. And then the answers kind of came through at the last minute on May 14th, the statutory deadline. And we've been working to try to decode all of that over the last week. Our partners, definitely our advisors with school services, capital advisors, CSBA, all of the organizations have been really pulling all of that apart. And thank you to Joel for attending the school services May revise yesterday. And so you'll see some additional slides in here from school services to explain a few of the changes. Essentially, there are a combination of things that are proposed in using revenues, reserves to cover some of the revenues, some reductions, some borrowing, delays, funding shifts, and deferrals are off the table from the governor right now. So there's good and bad news in this altogether. The good news is that for the most part, K-12 funding has been proposed to be preserved with some caveats. Most of the items on here that are reductions don't actually apply to us, but they are important because they affect us regardless of whether it's funding that we would have qualified for. So just there for information. I'm happy to go back and answer questions, but it's a very long slide deck, so we want to try and get through and hit the highlights. Essentially, the key elements, again, there is a Prop 98 manipulation, or I believe School Services is referring to it as a maneuver. We'll go into that a little bit. Rainy day fund withdrawals from the Prop 98 reserves for school funding. It does avoid deferrals. The equity multiplier does not apply to us, but it will be funded. Full funding will continue for universal meals, so that's really good news. That great work that we're doing in our CNS world will continue to be able to provide students with nutritious meals and keep them engaged while they're in school. Our expanded learning opportunities program does continue with some additional spending and reporting requirements, but not a change in funding at this point. Attendance recovery options have been delayed that were earlier recommended or proposed, which essentially would give us an opportunity to make up for chronic absenteeism with additional time in school for those students. So we look forward to seeing that in, I believe, the 25-26 year, along with some changes to independent study and instructional continuity remote learning requirements. That gives us the next year to work on policy updates and determine how that will impact us. COLA, so the cost of living adjustment, the statutory COLA did increase from January to 1.07 from 0.76, and the governor does propose funding that. The budget shortfalls will continue to be a multi-year problem. And again, it talks about those, the different combination of how he proposes to solve that. These are your new slides here from courtesy of School Services. This is just important to point out that the reserves that the state was holding for us for, for education will be exhausted by the end of next year. We are very fortunate that in good times, those funds were set aside. And that is something that, we are currently struggling with, is maintaining that reserve. And as you can see, the state will be as well. The governor does have to declare a fiscal emergency for some of those funds to be withdrawn. Others are withdrawn based on statute. This is our problem here. So just a quick overview. I'm not going to look at everything here, but essentially 40% of the general fund is required to go to Proposition 98. And essentially they over appropriated in 22-23 because of the delay in reporting of tax revenues. So with those delayed tax returns, they adopted a budget without knowing what it was going to be and really made some very optimistic projections that did not come to fruition. And so that is what is currently creating this conundrum for us. The maneuver here is what is interesting in that the 22-23 minimum guarantee essentially was over appropriated by about $8.8 billion, which is a really big deal for us. So essentially the maneuver is that rather than saying, okay, we are going to suspend the Prop 98 guarantee, or we're going to use one of the existing tools to be able to deal with that funding shortfall, there's a proposal by the government to essentially lower that guarantee for that year, say, nope, you really don't get that you're not entitled to that 8.8 billion, but we're still going to give it to you. We're not going to take it back. Instead, we're going to borrow against the next 5 years to make that whole. And the big problem with that is that there are some legal concerns with that, for one thing. But the other thing is that because of the compounding nature of Prop 98 and the COLA adjustment, it actually in the long term turns into a $14 billion shortfall for education over that same 5 to 10 year period, compared to a shortage in the near term, or a solution that's already within law that they can choose to fund above our entitlement. They can choose not to certify and, lower it slightly. There are several options that are currently not on the table from the governor. However, we are hopeful that the legislature will maybe look at that in a different way. I know there's been confusion or consternation as to why some of the major groups would be opposed to something that would fully fund education. And really, it's because of the long-term impact on creating a new test, like essentially a test 4 instead of the 3 that are already in existence for determining the Prop 98 funding. So again, here are some of the solutions. We will have the updated slide deck included in the minutes. So if anybody wants to look at these slides more closely, they will be available. Oh, well, that is bizarre.
Keep pushing it, just go the first one.
Oh,
So
okay.
it
I was like,
actually
what
did
the
this
heck
in
happened?
theirs. Yeah, it did this in theirs. I thought
I'm
it was
sorry.
in theirs.
We copied these over. I did not get to attend the webinar yesterday, so Joel knew that was coming and I didn't.
But you could have given the webinar. That was an excellent explanation. I think that was really well done.
Thank you. So this is really a tale of 3 multi-year projections for LCFF revenues. So at second interim, we were projecting a 0.76 for 24-25 with a 2.73 COLA in 25-26. Right now, we are projecting a 1.07 for 24-25 and a 2.93 for 25-26, which gives us a slight bump. However, that's what our budget was built on, and our multi-year projections when we started this year was a 3.94. And so you can see the swing there and the impact that that has on our local funding, but also at the state level. Every district is faced with this right now, or nearly every. Some basic aid districts are not in the same situation, but really for the most part, the majority of districts are. So we are in this boat together, trying to figure out how to bail the water out. So there's the great fun news for the May revise. We will be bringing back additional information. What happens over the next month is that the governor and the legislature will negotiate, and they are required to, the legislature is required to present a balanced budget by June 15th, and then the governor has 12 days to act on that. Of course, our budget process will happen before that time. So we'll make an adjustment over the summer and first interim and start the whole cycle over. So third interim, because of our qualified certification, 2 interim reports in a row, this is required. And essentially it just helps us tighten up our estimates for this current year and begin our multi-year projections for next year and the year after. The work is not done. It just begins what we're going to do over the next couple of weeks in preparation. So things will get closer as we know a little bit more and continue to tighten those budgets up. Joel and our fiscal team have done a really great job in tracking things down to the line item and making adjustments where we can. Been collaborating with Ed Services, Special Services, all of our departments to try to get a better idea of any changes that may happen still between now and the end of the year and what plans are for next year. So just an overview of our assumptions that are used in the third interim and our continued decline in funding based on our ADA. So we do actually see a slight bump projected in 24-25. Again, that aligns with our demographic studies. It aligns with all of the other reports that we've seen, with then a drop right back down the next year. So we have just a small bubble that we see coming through. The good news, though, is that our ADA has been increasing. We went from about an 89% average during the, just post-COVID to now we are in at what, a 93 roughly for elementary and 90 for secondary. So it's definitely an improvement, and the efforts that our wellness and engagement team and our school sites are really paying off. One of the things that I want to point out is that some of the assumptions are related to retirement costs. CalSTRS, that does cover all of our certificated staff. So that's teachers as well as certificated administration. So the retirement contribution from the district is set at 19.10%. That is currently in law. It actually takes the legislature to change that. For CalPERS, that works differently. That is set by the CalPERS board and varies from year to year. So every year that gets updated with our projections. And you can see that between that right there, that is going to more than eat up COLA. So we also have our step and column and other things to absorb as well, which is really part of that whole budget issue and how that compounds. So just something to be aware of. CalPERS does cover all classified employees, including classified administrators such as Joel and myself. Okay, and I'm going to hand this over to Joel for a few minutes to talk about the current state of our third interim.
Thank you. So looking at the revenues for current year, this is looking at updates with third interim from second interim. So you can see LCFF sources. So our data and its student data department, they revisited the CalPADs for their unduplicated pupil count, and we have updated numbers for that. And we put those back into the state funding formula calculator, and this is our updated revenue projection for LCFF. We'll report those to CalPADs with the P-annual. We've got some increase in federal and other local revenue. We've been talking about in second interim and first interim about some special ed cost increases. So now with those new student data numbers, and those have gone through SELPA, and SELPA has issued us additional revenues for those. So that is some relief in that area. And then you can see in our other state revenue, this is one that we have the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program. And, through this year, it's a brand new program. I think last year, we're getting familiar with it. And we discovered that it was appropriate to show revenues and expenditures for that program out of our Fund 12, which is our Early Childhood Development Fund. And this is an elementary program. And we moved that program into Fund 12. And what that does is it excludes that program out of our general fund, where we're required to maintain a 3% reserve for economic uncertainties. So that new program would have increased that. But so we have that in our Fund 12 now. And those are the major updates with third interim in revenues. Okay, now moving on to expenditures, you can see one thing we did do now that we're at the end of the year and we've gone through the year, we've planned budgeted the one-time federal stimulus monies that are expiring this year. We actually spent those all down now. For example, you can see, allowable uses for those are our health services. So we moved some of our health techs in there, our school-based therapists, which are classified positions, and we didn't move as many service and other operating expenditures into those areas. And again, one thing that kind of comes out in this, the other thing that comes out in this expenditures is the capital outlay. We haven't really talked a lot about the capital outlay. You can see it had a pretty healthy increase this year. One thing the governor has invested in is kitchen infrastructure grants. So we've got some kitchen infrastructure grants in there, with universal meals being one of the governor's large, what's the word I'm looking for? Initiatives in this budget. There were kitchen infrastructure grants, so we are getting some. So there is this. We are seeing a large capital outlay expenditure this year, but that is from monies provided by the governor for kitchen infrastructures. And again, you see there in the other outgo, there's the associated transfer of expenditures out along with that Fund 12, or along with the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program moving to Fund 12. So that is really the highlights of the expenditures, updates with third interim.
One of the things that I do want to clarify on here, and this is what's really been taking a lot of effort on behalf of Joel and our state and federal programs, is to really make sure that we are spending all of our most restricted dollars first and taking advantage of essentially being able to sustain the positions and the funding that we have in our unrestricted general fund based on those COVID dollars and the ELOG dollars, all of those things that were given to us as one time that have really very short spending timelines that align. Essentially, all of the money has to be spent by the same time, and they all have the same uses that are qualified under there. So it's really been a big effort that they've been going through and identifying that. It doesn't change our actual spending or our expenditures. It's just which dollars are spent first, which then allows us to be able to have a better, we're more able to meet that 3% reserve in the current and future years by making those shifts that way. And so we have been sharing that information with our partners